All it took was a black crescent moon appearing on his forehead, and the boy became the Primordial Heavenly Lord. But before that, his soul was so overwhelmingly powerful that it left him in constant, splitting pain. He had no choice but to rely on a special medication to keep the symptoms under control. One morning, Ethan Zhang jolted awake. He clutched his head as the pain threatened to split it open. Back in high school, he had developed a strange condition that caused his brain to involuntarily replay every memory he had ever formed. It also compulsively gathered and analyzed information from the world around him, completely beyond his control. His mind had developed an almost unbelievable level of control over his body, but the downside was these brutal headaches every time the symptoms flared. No doctor could figure out what was wrong. It was only thanks to a specialized medication his mother had brought back from abroad that the condition was kept in check. Lately, though, he had noticed the medicine was losing its edge. He had probably built up a tolerance. Just then, he received a package with no return address. When he opened it, the contents caught him off guard. Inside were a black card and a letter. The card felt surprisingly warm and smooth to the touch, with delicate silver cloud patterns along its edges and a black crescent moon at its center. Unable to make sense of it, Ethan slipped the card into his pocket. He then picked up the letter and began to read. "Ethan, I got my hands on something extraordinary. I thought it would change my life, but it turned out to be beyond what I can handle. If anyone can deal with it, it's you. Consider it a gift from your brother, Rex Lay." So it was from Rex. Ethan frowned. Typical of him, not explaining a single thing properly. Rex Lay was Ethan's closest friend. He had looked out for Ethan since they were kids. That was why Ethan always called him Rex, with a kind of easy familiarity, the way you only talk to someone who has had your back for years. Just then, his phone rang. It was Rex's father. "Ethan, I'm at his school right now. Rex is missing." Ethan stood frozen. He asked, confused and urgent at the same time, whether the authorities had been contacted and what the Public Security Bureau had said. Mr. Lay explained that Rex had vanished from his dorm room. The investigators pulled the hallway footage and found no evidence that he had ever left the building. His roommates had been talking to him just before lights out. Then they turned around and he was gone. Ethan blurted out that it was impossible, that a grown person vanishing into thin air was something even a child wouldn't believe, and asked whether Rex might have made an enemy who had taken him. Ethan tried to steady him. "Mr. Lay, please try to stay calm. My grandfather and my cousin both work at the bureau. I'll reach out to them right now and find out how they're handling this." After he hung up, Ethan couldn't sit still. 3 days ago, gone without leaving the room, no trace on the cameras, and then the package, the letter, the black card. The thought made him instinctively reach into his pocket for the card, but his hand found nothing. The card was gone. He was certain he had put it there, vanished into thin air. Ethan's head began to throb violently again as his mind raced through everything he knew. Rex's unexplained disappearance, the strange letter, the card that had simply ceased to exist. A cold, formless dread settled over him. What on earth had Rex sent him? His scalp prickled. With trembling hands, he shook a few blue pills from the bottle. He swallowed them quickly, and after a few moments the pain began to ease. A knock at the door. It was a team of investigators from the Kangyang District Public Security Bureau, and they had come specifically for him. "Come on in," Ethan said. "I'm Ethan Zhang. What is it you'd like to know?" Privately, he thought about how his cousin was the squad leader of Team 2 in Kangyang District. These agents clearly knew his background. Shouldn't they have at least given him a heads up before showing up at the door of a colleague's family member? Once the three of them had taken a seat, the agent with the mustache got straight to the point. Rex Lay had gone missing. The Bureau in Hangchang had notified them that Rex had mailed a package to Ethan the morning before his disappearance. Ethan put on a look of stunned confusion and said that Rex was missing, that it couldn't be possible. The agent with the glasses, the one taking notes, cut in and told him to simply answer yes or no. Ethan gave a slow, heavy nod and said yes, that he had just received it and that there was no sender name on it, so he had been puzzled about who sent it. Mustache nodded and asked what was inside. Nothing. It was empty. Mustache narrowed his eyes, clearly unconvinced. Ethan added that there was a bubble wrap cushion inside, but nothing else. He told himself it wasn't really a lie. The card had vanished on its own, which was more or less the same as nothing being there. As the last person to have any indirect contact with Rex Lay, we'd like to search your room, computer, and phone. It's not mandatory, but it would be in your best interest not to refuse. He then had the female agent carry out the search. Mustache added that if Ethan came across anything, he should contact them immediately and not hold anything back. Otherwise, you might be the next one to disappear. What was that supposed to mean? Was he threatening that Ethan would vanish like Rex if he didn't hand over the card? But the card was already gone. Even if he wanted to hand it over, there was nothing to give. About 15 minutes later, the female agent stepped out of the room. Nothing useful had been found. The three agents stood to leave. Before heading out, Mustache handed Ethan a business card and told him to get in touch if anything came to mind. Back in the car, Mustache spoke quietly. "Grace, did you find anything?" "Nothing on the computer or phone, but Rex's letter was hidden under a flower pot. So Rex did send him something, almost certainly a roll card, though we don't know what class." Mustache said nothing for a few seconds and closed his eyes. After a moment he said, "Pay him another visit tomorrow, if he hasn't disappeared by then." Meanwhile, Ethan sat and thought. If Rex's disappearance was deliberate and the black card was the target, then the Bureau might not be the only party that suspected he had received it. There was a good chance Rex had been approached by a third party. The fact that he had not gone to the Bureau himself suggested he didn't trust them. And Ethan couldn't be sure whether those three agents were allies or enemies. The safest move was to explain everything to his cousin. But his cousin wasn't picking up. And even if he did, how was Ethan supposed to explain that a card had simply simply ceased to exist. The more he thought about it, the worse it looked. Then without warning, the headache slammed back. He caught his reflection in the mirror. On his forehead was the black crescent moon. Below the mark was something that looked like a loading bar. Ethan stared. That was the same symbol as on the card. What would happen when the bar reached 100%? A rush of fragmented thoughts. The card hadn't vanished. It had entered his body and transformed into this mark on his forehead in a way he couldn't begin to understand. Rex had called it a life-changing gift, so his earlier guess had been right. Someone wanted the card. Rex had sent it to Ethan to keep it out of their hands, and he had paid for that decision with his disappearance. Before he could think any further, the bar hit 99%. The next moment it reached 100. A flat, emotionless voice sounded in his ear. Roll card initialization complete. A glowing blue character status panel materialized before his eyes. It carried a specific warning: never let your moral score fall below 60. You may not have had a choice before, but now you do. Please be a good person. The system then prompted him to choose a name for his character. Ethan typed his own name. Warning: do not use your real name. He typed a second name. Primordial Heavenly Lord accepted. Spirit Realm will open in 10 seconds. Primordial Heavenly Lord, good luck. 10 seconds later, the system announced, welcome to Night God Trial, Yuling Tunnel, Instance 0079. Difficulty rating S-Type, Solo Death Instance. Main Quest 1, survive for 3 hours. Main Quest 2, explore Spirit Realm Instance 0079. Non-Spirit Realm items cannot be brought in. Have you heard of Yuling Tunnel, one of the 10 great urban legends of Songhai City? The tunnel was built near the end of the last century. During construction, a work crew entered the tunnel one rainy night to dig, and was never seen again. The Public Security Bureau organized a search that lasted several days. They found only one man in the mountains, a worker who had been part of that night's crew. The others had vanished without a trace. The survivor made it out alive, but something had broken in him. He rambled and muttered to himself, and no matter how the officers questioned him, he repeated only a single phrase: don't go into the temple. Everything went dark. When Ethan opened his eyes, he was standing inside Yuling Tunnel, the one from the legend. This was insane. He forced himself to think clearly about his situation. There was no question this was supernatural. He had been pulled into the legend itself, and was expected to complete tasks handed down by some unknown force. One of them was to survive for 3 hours. The other was to explore an S-rank Spirit Realm instance. 3 hours of survival implied extreme danger. This tunnel was not a safe place, a death instance. That name did not bode well at all. Just then, the old xenon lights in the tunnel began to flicker. Through the shifting dark, a figure in a miner's helmet slowly approached. As it drew closer, Ethan saw that it was a dried-out corpse, dressed in ragged miner's clothes. Worse, more red-eyed corpses began to close in from all sides. Ethan's skin erupted in goosebumps. He swore under his breath and spun around to bolt, but the corpses didn't give chase. Instead, they pointed in one direction. The shock had scrambled his thoughts completely. He wasn't about to stay in this place a second longer. He ran, following the direction they had pointed. The prompt had called this a solo death instance. By all logic, these miners should have been attacking him. So why had they let him go? And why had they pointed the way? He burst out of the tunnel into a dense forest. A full moon hung in the night sky. The mountain was completely silent in a way that felt wrong. At this time of year, there should have been insects. Through the trees, the outline of an abandoned temple emerged. Up close, the temple looked as though it had been left to rot for decades. The paint on the gate had turned black and cracked. What was a temple doing out here in the middle of nowhere? Then it hit him. The warning from the spirit realm. Don't go into the temple. But he had already left the tunnel, which meant this crumbling temple was exactly what he was supposed to explore. The warning said don't go in, yet the mission demanded he do just that. Ethan stepped inside, reluctantly. A dim, yellowish light seeped through the lattice doors of the main hall. Rather than offering any comfort, it only made everything feel more unsettling. Then he felt it. Something was following him. The first sign of a haunting was always phantom sounds. This was wrong on every level. He had barely set foot inside the temple and something was already on him. Ethan snapped. He sprinted full speed toward the main hall. With a loud crash, he shoved the lattice doors open and threw himself inside. He stood there, gasping. He finally dared to look back. The courtyard was perfectly still, terrifyingly so. Whatever had been following him was gone. His attention shifted to the hall itself. On a tall stone altar stood a deity dressed in opulent robes and a great fur-trimmed mantle. Her face was round and gentle, with long, delicate eyes that gave off a sense of benevolence. On either side of her stood attendant figures, one holding a sword and one holding a book. One hand held a ceremonial whisk. The other was posed as though gripping something, but whatever it had once held was gone. The more Ethan thought about it, the more his skin crawled. The temple was clearly abandoned. So who had been changing the candles? Then his eyes drifted beneath the offering table. A skeleton lay in the shadows there. He started to work through the situation. Was this spirit realm a fabrication built from the urban legend, or had it always existed? If the latter, then the construction crew had wandered into this place the same way he had, and the legend had grown from what happened to them afterward. Either way, his situation was extremely dangerous. If he wanted to survive, he needed more information. With that, he moved closer to examine the skeleton. It wore a dust-covered work uniform. Several ribs and part of the sternum were broken, and the right shoulder blade showed a network of fine cracks, though nothing too severe. There was something in the chest pocket. Ethan carefully pulled out several yellowed, brittle sheets of paper. They were covered in neat, handwritten characters. Another senior brother went missing last night. That makes 3 from our temple now. The other disciples are terrified. They say Sandow Mountain has been cursed. or that a powerful demon has come here hunting for prey. They asked our master what to do. He reassured us that with our training, no demon would dare feed on us here. Master told us to keep it from the worshippers, worried it would drive them away. He must know something. Honestly, my corpse-suppressing talismans and spirit-summoning talismans should be more than enough to handle any ghost. I don't even need his help. I have a bad feeling about this. People have been disappearing every day. I went to talk it over with senior brother. 3 days have passed now, and 3 more are gone. He and I still haven't found any answers. The feeling only gets worse. Senior brother was strange today. He seemed to have discovered something and looked furious about it. I asked him, but he wouldn't tell me. His mood was too dark depressed, so I decided to ask again tomorrow. The next day, senior brother was gone too. I went to master. I told him I couldn't take it anymore. He spoke calmly. He told me to come to his room after sunset and that he would share a secret with me, one that concerned the rise and fall of 1,000 years. After dinner, I sat in my room and waited for the sun to go down. Since the disappearances began, it had been the first time I actually looked forward to nightfall. The writing stopped there. Someone from the construction crew had found this and tucked it away. It had to be an important clue. The reason the temple had fallen into ruin was still unknown. If he could uncover that, he might complete the second main quest. The main hall had given him all it could. To explore further, he would have to go back outside and face whatever was in there with him. After a long moment of deliberation, Ethan walked to the entrance of the main hall, pushed open the lattice doors, and stepped out into silence. He could feel it, an unnatural sense of danger hanging in the air. But staying put and waiting out the clock was not an option. He followed the cobblestone path along the left side of the hall, toward the back courtyard. Before long, he came to a traditional enclosed courtyard. He entered through an arched gate on the eastern side. In the overgrown courtyard lay several skeletons dressed in work uniforms. From the tunnel to here, the remains of the construction crew had been everywhere. No matter how many times you saw it, it was still deeply unsettling. These skeletons were badly damaged, clearly evidence of tremendous violence before death. A brutal end. But notably, the shoulder bones on these were intact, with no cracks. Then, faintly, he heard something. Someone crying for help. In this dead and desolate night, cold sweat ran down Ethan's back. He stood rooted to the spot. Whatever was beyond that gate, you didn't need to think hard to know it was dangerous. After a long while, the faint sobbing faded away. Ethan pressed on and continued exploring the courtyard. In the easternmost room, a body was slumped against the wall at an angle. He opened the clothing and examined it carefully. Both this one and the skeleton from the main hall had shattered shoulder blades. Was that a coincidence? Then he noticed the pants pocket was bulging. Something was hidden inside. He reached in and pulled out a yellowed old journal, a dull bronze mirror, and a talisman drawn on yellow paper. A glowing blue notification appeared before him. Spirit realm item detected. Name, corpse-suppressing, talisman. A talisman forged by a powerful night god, effective against all undead creatures. Affix it to the forehead of an undead entity to complete the seal. Neither the mirror nor the journal had triggered a notification, only the talisman had. That made it significant. Ethan carefully opened the journal. It read, "It has been 2.5 years since I joined the Sandow Mountain Goddess Temple. I have learned to read and write. Senior brother told me that once Master returns from guiding the souls of the departed, he would formally initiate me and teach me the moon-swallowing, soul-nourishing art, the foundation of becoming a night god. The Prince of Yan has launched a rebellion. War is spreading everywhere. As the most powerful night god in the Songhai lineage, Master had no choice but to descend the mountain to guide the souls of the fallen. Without him, the spiritual unrest caused by the war would only bring more suffering to the people." It read like a personal diary, recording temple life and training. The paper felt similar to the notes he had found on the skeleton in the main hall. The mention of the Prince of Yan's rebellion placed it in the same era as a famous historical civil war, though night gods were hardly something found in actual history books. Ethan turned to the later entries. The sun finally set. I heard a knock at the door. I rushed to open it, excited, but it was not Master standing there. It was senior brother, the one who had vanished the night before. He had come back after a day and a night, but I felt no joy. He was dead. What stood before me was a corpse. His chest was soaked in blood, and his heart had been torn out by someone. He stared at me without blinking. He said, "Don't trust Master." When Ethan turned to the next page, it had been torn out. He couldn't make sense of it. Don't trust Master. Was their own teacher behind all of this? Something felt deeply wrong. He needed to leave. He picked up the bronze mirror and turned to go. Then, out of the corner of his eye, he caught a glimpse in the mirror's surface. His own reflection stared back at him, and clinging to his back was the figure of a ghost, watching him with dead, unblinking eyes. Ethan shot straight up like a startled cat and let out a sharp curse. Without thinking, he slapped the talisman onto his shoulder and rattled off every exorcism chant he had ever come across, in every language he could think of. "I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, whatever I did, I take it back. Please work. Please work." It didn't. The ghostly figure remained on his shoulder. The talisman was meant for undead creatures. This was something else entirely. Great. His shoulder was hurting worse than before, and his hands and feet were going cold. This thing was draining his life energy. He had a grim sense of how this might end for him. Well played, he thought. Young and already walking into your own death. Impressive. Then from outside came the sound of rhythmic tapping footsteps. One problem at a time was apparently too much to ask. It was the same footsteps that had followed him into the main hall. "Why now?" "Fine. Come one, come all." If you kill me, I'll just come back as a ghost and make your afterlives equally miserable. Ethan pressed himself against the wall and peered through the window. A pair of brand new red dance shoes, Western style, were tap dancing through the dark. A Ming Dynasty mountain temple and a pair of Western tap shoes. If there was a stranger combination out there, Ethan couldn't think of one. This place kept finding new ways to be wrong. He crouched back down and waited. The seconds crawled by. The spirit on his shoulder kept drawing out his vitality. The stiffness in his body grew heavier with every passing moment. The dull ache in his shoulder sharpened into something much worse. Was there still a way out of this? Ethan forced himself forward, crawling toward the main hall with labored breaths. His face had gone pale, dark circles forming under his eyes. Every sign pointed to a body being drained dry. The moment he made it back into the main hall, a distant ghostly shriek echoed in his ears. The weight on his shoulder vanished, the cold, the dizziness, the paralysis, all of it lifted at once. His guess had been right. The main hall was a safe zone. Ethan stayed there for the remainder of the time, and the pain in his shoulder gradually faded. Looking back, it still frightened him. If the red shoes or the spirit on his shoulder had attacked directly, he could have retreated to the main hall. But if both had come for him at the same time, he very likely would not have made it. After recovering some strength, Ethan closed the doors to the main hall. The first rule of survival in a place like this was to always shut the door. And whatever was truly behind the horror of this temple, it wasn't just the ghost or the red shoes. That banyan tree in the back courtyard didn't look right either. The system chimed. Main Quest 1, survive for 3 hours, completed. Main Quest 2, explore Spirit Realm Instance 0079. Progress, 20%. Item obtained, corpse suppressing talisman. Check your inventory to view. You have been granted 36 hours of rest. Countdown to the next opening of Spirit Realm Instance 0079 has begun. Ethan's body began to blur. When the world sharpened again, he was back in his own bedroom. He lay on his soft mattress. He was alive, back in the real world. Even the air tasted sweet. A few minutes later, Ethan sat up and checked his pockets. The corpse-suppressing talisman was gone. The thought of retrieving it surfaced in his mind, and the next moment, a glowing blue grid appeared before him. 5 slots in total. The first slot held the corpse-suppressing talisman, but his level was still 0. That meant he had not yet become a night god. He was still an ordinary person. He had barely survived the first 3 hours, and now he had to go back and complete the second quest. He reached for his phone to call his cousin, but his finger stopped before it touched the screen. There might be a better option. He found the business card that Mustache had given him. Rex's disappearance might be connected to the spirit realm, and what Mustache had said about Ethan potentially disappearing next, looking back, that had to have been a hint that he would enter the spirit realm too. The call connected. Ethan gave his name, and the voice on the other end carried a note of surprise. You made it back from the spirit realm. Ethan lowered his voice. So you did know. Congratulations, college kid. You're a spirit realm walker now. That's what we call people like us. I'm one too, but I'm officially recognized while you're operating on your own. I can't give you information about the spirit realm right now. If you want answers, you'll need to make a choice. The official stance on spirit realm walkers goes 2 ways: bring them in and train them, or regulate and monitor them. The first means joining us as an official spirit realm walker. The second means staying independent. All that requires is registering with us and giving your word that you won't misuse your abilities. We won't interfere with you, but you also won't receive any support from our side. Ethan didn't hesitate. I'm in. Sign me up. Whatever it takes. Leo Lee said to get some rest. He would pick Ethan up at 8 the next morning. Ethan also mentioned that he had lied earlier about Rex sending him the card and apologized. The reply was brief. You were careful. That's good. The next morning, Ethan came downstairs to find his grandfather sitting on the couch. Ethan approached carefully. Grandpa, I remember hearing that after the Yuling Tunnel construction crew disappeared, the Bureau organized a search party and you were part of it. His grandfather looked puzzled. That was a long time ago. Why are you asking about that? I came across the story online again yesterday. Whatever happened to the worker they found? His grandfather frowned. I don't remember. That was too long ago. From the kitchen, Ethan's grandmother called out that she remembered the man had disappeared again afterward. His grandfather said slowly, trust in science. Don't get caught up in superstition. Ethan latched onto the key detail immediately. Disappeared again. The survivor had re-entered the spirit realm after 36 hours, and this time he had not come back. It made him even more certain about his choice. The death rate inside that temple was devastating. The second main quest was going to be extremely dangerous. Aligning himself with the official organization was the right call. Ethan got into a black SUV waiting outside his building. Leo Lee said he would take Ethan to complete his registration and walk him through the basics. He started with introductions. Leo Lee, Level 3 Spirit Realm Walker, Squad Leader of Team 2, Kangyang District, Songhai Branch of the Five Elements Alliance, Class, Scout. As the SUV moved through traffic, Leo began to explain. The spirit realm was a supernatural phenomenon that science had not yet been able to account for. Despite ongoing efforts to study and analyze it, no one had arrived at a complete understanding. It existed alongside reality, but operated outside of it. Only those who had been chosen could enter, and the roll card was the mechanism of selection. Those who received a roll card were given a trial mission. Completing the trial granted a class, along with all the skills and traits that came with it. How the spirit realm selected its walkers remained unknown, and the way roll cards were distributed was equally unpredictable. Sometimes the cards simply appeared inside you. Sometimes you found it on the street, sometimes you clicked the wrong link online. Completing the trial was just the beginning. To grow stronger, a walker had to keep taking missions and re-entering the spirit realm. But Leo assured him the frequency was manageable, and not every instance was life-threatening. In fact, some were quite enjoyable. As for Leo himself, he was a level 3 scout who had entered the spirit realm 6 times over the past 2 years. 3 of those had been solo instances where he had nearly died. The others had been group instances. Of course, gaining supernatural abilities always came at a price. Ethan said it sounded like game dungeons. Leo smiled. Solo instances were the most dangerous, with the highest death rate. Group instances were more forgiving. There were 2 types, death instances and penalty instances, with the latter only deducting experience points. In group instances, you encountered walkers of other classes. Solo instances were specific to your own class. Taking scouts as an example, their abilities in the transcendent stage centered on perception, tracking, and analysis. That was why Leo's 3 solo instances had involved playing detective on a case, hunting a fugitive through a jungle, and surviving in the wilderness. He also noted that solo instances differed between the Transcendent stage and the Saint stage for each class. Ethan thought about his own situation. His class was Night God, which explained why his solo instance had been a paranormal one. He asked quietly whether Rex had likely entered the spirit realm. Leo nodded. The Bureau and Hengcheng had concluded that Rex was dead. Anxiety surged through Ethan. Why? Because of how long it had been, Leo explained. A typical Transcendent stage instance lasted anywhere from a few hours to a day or 2. Rex had been gone for 4 days. What about beyond the Transcendent stage? Not entirely certain, but those instances are likely longer. Maybe Rex was already beyond the Transcendent stage, Ethan told himself. That was the only comfort he could find. Right now, his abilities and knowledge were nowhere near enough to help anyone. Joining the organization and figuring out how to survive was the priority. By the way, what's your moral score? Leo asked. Ethan answered honestly. Starting value, 60. For newcomers, the moral score is the biggest trap. Drop below 60 and the Spirit Realm's penalty system activates. Your location gets broadcast to every walker in the city, and a bounty goes out to have you eliminated. Ethan blurted out that he was essentially prohibited from doing anything questionable for the rest of his life. Did that count every minor misdeed? Where did the line get drawn? If even small things could cost him, life was going to get very dull very fast. Leo explained that theft, robbery, and assault would cost between 1 and 5 moral score points depending on severity. Killing someone cost 10. Causing serious harm to multiple people carried penalties scaled to the circumstances. Private matters didn't affect the score, and the score could be rebuilt just as easily as it could be lost. So the advice was simple: be a decent person. Ethan fell into thought. Why would the spirit realm impose moral constraints on walkers? Ethics, laws, all of that was invented by humans to maintain order. In nature, no other creature operated by such rules, which meant that unless the spirit realm was fundamentally aligned with human interests, the moral score system didn't quite make sense. But the spirit realm was a supernatural phenomenon. The fact that Leo hadn't explained the reasoning behind the moral score probably meant he didn't know either, and perhaps the organization itself had no clear answer. Ethan followed Leo into the bureau building as Leo continued. Building up the moral score was as straightforward as losing it. Do good things. In fact, many walkers from criminal organizations were enthusiastic charity donors and regular contributors to social causes. It was the fastest way to raise the score, and as long as you had enough money, you could effectively buy the right to kill without consequence. The irony was hard to miss. You never really knew what someone was hiding behind their generosity, and the deeper irony was that human life could be reduced to a number on a balance sheet. That was true in the real world, and it turned out to be just as true in the spirit realm. One more thing, killing another spirit realm walker doesn't cost any moral score points. Our official organization is called the 5 Elements Alliance. It is made up of 5 factions: the 100 Flower Society, the White Tiger Corps, the Red Fire Gang, the Water God Palace, and the Central Court. Each faction represents one of the 5 classes: Wood Demon, Scout, Fire Master, Water Ghost, and Earth Ghoul. The alliance only came together in the last 20 years. Before that, each faction operated independently, and relations between them were far from friendly. The tensions go back to the way the 5 elements interact with each other, and to the fundamental differences in how each class thinks and operates. Take the 100 Flowers Society and their wood demons, for instance. They are extreme environmentalists, animal rights crusaders of the most fanatical variety. Their devotion to protecting every living creature borders on the unhinged. Every time I see that self-righteous look on their faces, I have to resist the urge to kick them. In Leo's view, every faction except the White Tiger Corps left something to be desired. Only the White Tiger Corps produces scouts with the right qualities: sharp, composed, decisive, the ideal class. That said, among all the lawful classes, Night Gods are universally acknowledged as the most powerful. That perked Ethan up. He asked Leo to tell him more about the Night God class. Night Gods develop formidable assassination capabilities even in the early Transcendent stage, with an exceptional capacity for sudden bursts of power. They can also communicate with souls, animate corpses, and command spirits. The class has a wide range of skills and extraordinary combat potential. Night Gods are extremely rare, though. The Songhai branch currently has none at all, partly because Night God trial instances are scarce in Songhai, and partly because the Tai Order in the capital has been continuously recruiting night gods from across the country. At that point, Leo turned and asked Ethan what class he was. He added that he hoped it wasn't Firemaster, since he had no patience for hot-headed young men. Ethan said, keeping it modest, that he was pretty sure he was a night god. Leo went still. It took a moment to register. After roughly 10 seconds of silence, Leo grabbed Ethan by the shoulders and raised his voice. You're a night god? Every night god was a prize competed over by walker teams and factions alike. What's your spirit realm ID? Ethan told him. Primordial Heavenly Lord. Leo was quiet for a few seconds before saying it was a good name. Ethan privately thought the reaction seemed a bit forced. I'll process your registration right now. The monthly salary is 20,000. There are additional allowances for missions, bonuses for outstanding performance on top of that. Ethan followed Leo into his office. Shortly after, Grace Guan came in. She was also a scout, level 2. The squad leader should have already covered the basics with you. There are a few things I need to go over. Starting today, your original identification is no longer valid. The organization will issue you a new one. Ethan asked why. Grace explained that when he named his character, the spirit realm had warned him not to use his real name, and there was a reason for that. Classes in the spirit realm fall into 2 categories. The first is ordered classes, what we call the lawful classes. The second is evil classes. Walkers of evil classes tend to be violent, sadistic, or otherwise twisted, and they share one common interest: hunting down walkers of the lawful classes. Revealing your identity is extremely dangerous. That said, don't worry too much. We're the official organization. More often than not, we're the hunters and they're the prey. Across all of Kangyang District, there are 10 walker teams. We are Team 2. The team currently has 5 walkers, 6 counting you. Of the 5, only the squad leader and I belong to the White Tiger Corps. You were recruited by the squad leader, so once you're officially confirmed, you'll be one of us. Keep that in mind. Grace picked up the form Ethan had filled out. Primordial Heavenly Lord, 21 years old, quite the name. You're not worried someone might take offense? Then she saw the class listed. Her expression froze and she blurted out, "You're a night god?" Ethan enjoyed the reaction. He nodded. "I am." Then she saw his trial mission, Yuling Tunnel. Grace went completely still. How is it that instance? Ethan felt a knot form in his stomach at her reaction. He said he had been meaning to ask about his trial, and since it was an instance, there had to be some kind of guide or record for it. Wade Wang happened to walk over just then and let out a long sigh. Ethan had a very bad feeling. Had he somehow drawn the worst possible hand? Grace walked away with a grimace. Poor kid, his luck could not be worse. Wade explained that records did exist. Every official walker was required to submit detailed accounts of their spirit realm experiences. The organization rewarded them for it. But Yuling Tunnel was a special case. He told Ethan to read it for himself. The file was a comprehensive record of night god trial instances in Songhai. It contained detailed entries on each type of trial. Most of them looked straightforward. Then he scrolled further and found the entry for Yuling Tunnel. Yuling Tunnel. Difficulty unknown. Objectives unknown. Initial incident, a construction crew entered the spirit realm by accident during tunnel excavation. 12 entered. 1 survived but with severe psychological damage from the experience. 36 hours later, he re-entered the spirit realm and did not return. This spirit realm instance is considered extremely dangerous. No successful completion has ever been recorded. Ethan stared blankly. No one had ever made it out. Meanwhile, Leo called the Centurion. "Sir, I've brought a night god into the White Tiger Corps. We finally have one of our own." The response came with clear satisfaction. "Well done, Squad Leader Lee. I'll put in for a commendation on your behalf." Leo hung up, visibly pleased with himself. He could already picture the bright future ahead for the White Tiger Corps. Then the glass door to the office flew open, kicked in by Grace. "Squad Leader, we have a problem. Ethan's trial instance is Yuling Tunnel." Leo nearly choked. Yuling Tunnel? Good God. He grabbed his cane and rushed out toward the main office. Ethan was slumped in a chair, looking utterly defeated. "Squad Leader, is there any chance I can still be saved?" Leo did his best to offer comfort. The trial instance was the first solo mission every walker faced, and the hardest part was that no one could help you inside. It was the spirit realm's test of you personally, and an unavoidable cost of gaining supernatural power. Ethan nodded, looking miserable. Leo continued, saying he would escalate the matter and hope that a higher-level archive might hold information on Yuling Tunnel, some guidance or strategy that might help. Without that, no one could do much for him. What Ethan needed to do in the meantime was write down everything he had experienced inside the tunnel, in as much detail as possible. Go home, wait for word, and Leo would contact him the moment anything came through. Ethan Zhang nodded stiffly. "Sorry for the trouble, Squad Leader." After Ethan left, Grace Guan started writing on a sticky note. Primordial Heavenly Lord. Scorpio male, known for being calculating and holding grudges. High sex drive, high risk of being lured by women from rival organizations. She then stuck it into Team 2's personnel file. Grace turned to Wade Wang and asked, "Does that kid have any chance of clearing the trial?" Wade replied, "The Tai Order might have detailed records on the Yuling Tunnel, but they probably won't do much good. If the records were useful, the Tai Order would have already sent a night god to clear it. There must be decent rewards inside an S-rank trial, but if he has an item on him, there might be a chance." Grace frowned. Obviously, items are incredibly rare, For a spirit realm walker at the transcendent stage, having even one item is already considered lucky. But items vary wildly in function, and our knowledge of the Yuling Tunnel is limited. We can't pinpoint which item would actually help, and there are only two ways to obtain an ownerless item. First, find one inside a spirit realm. Second, kill a spirit realm walker in the real world and take it by force. And the item has to be outside the inventory to be taken. Neither option is realistic. If someone dies inside a spirit realm, the items are automatically reclaimed by the realm. The loss would be enormous. Wade shook his head. The Qingming festival just passed, which is exactly when the Yuling Tunnel opens every year. Could this guy be any more unlucky? Meanwhile, Leo Li sat in his office, his expression grave as he typed out a message. He went on to explain that Ethan Zhang's trial realm was the Yuling Tunnel, and that the location was extremely dangerous. I apologize. I got carried away and fell into a false assumption. When I saw him return from the trial realm, I instinctively assumed he had already passed. I know the Tai Order holds the most comprehensive Night God realm records in existence, and their leader is the strongest Night God alive. They may have information on the Yuling Tunnel. If Centurion Fu were to reach out personally, the Tai Order would likely be willing to help. I hope Centurion Fu can assist. I hope we can hold on to this Night God. Ethan walked home with a heavy heart. His grandmother looked puzzled. You went out for a bit and came back looking like you'd lost your soul. This was Ethan's cousin, Victor Zhang. Victor looked up and asked, Grandma said you were looking for me last night. Ethan thought to himself that yesterday's problem had been taken care of, and this new one was beyond Victor's reach anyway. He shook his head. Never mind, it's fine, Victor replied unhurriedly. It's about Rex Lay, isn't it? I heard Leo Li paid you a personal visit yesterday. That means his case is anything but ordinary. Even I wouldn't be able to help, let alone you. Just then, Jade walked out holding a stack of sheet masks. She handed them to Victor and said, These are anti-wrinkle and anti-aging. Use them morning and night. They should work well. Your grandma insisted I pick them up for you. Victor furrowed his brow, deepening the lines on his forehead. Auntie, I don't need any of that. Grandma pointed at him with a scowl. You don't need masks? Fine. Then I'll iron your face flat myself. You're in your 30s, but you look 40. You're more weathered than your own father. How do you expect to find a girlfriend looking like that? Victor sighed and gave in. All right, Grandma, that's enough. I have to go to work. I'm swamped right now. There's a missing persons case I'm working on. Ethan's ears perked up immediately. A missing persons case? What happened? 2 people went missing inside the Yuling Tunnel. Still no sign of them. We pulled the surveillance footage. The cameras outside the tunnel showed them walking in, but the cameras inside showed nothing, like they never entered. Victor caught himself and lowered his voice. Don't repeat any of this. I signed a confidentiality agreement. Grandma immediately leaned in with curiosity. Was it ghosts again? Why haven't they just sealed that place off? People go missing in that tunnel every single year. Ethan quietly mulled it over. Could they have stumbled into the goddess temple the same way I did? Wonder if those 2 poor souls can survive 3 hours. At that moment he felt a strange mix of emotions, sympathy for them, and the odd comfort of knowing he wasn't the only unlucky one. Leo had once told him that spirit realms had always existed, and that some of the people who went missing every year simply vanished into them. What exactly are these spirit realms? In a traditional courtyard home in the capital, an elderly man with silver hair was resting leisurely under the old locust tree in the courtyard. A middle-aged man dressed in black approached and said, Elder son, the young man from the Fu family sent you an email. The old man didn't open his eyes. He asked calmly, Marcus Fu, what does he want? The man in black replied, one of his subordinates in Songhai City recruited a night god whose trial realm is the Yuling Tunnel. He's requesting any records you have on the tunnel and hoping for your advice. The old man's hand paused, mid-fan. Then he resumed the slow, steady rhythm. The Qingming festival just passed. That's exactly when the Yuling Tunnel opens. Quite a few people will be lucky enough to receive a Night God class card in the coming days. But no one is going to clear the Yuling Tunnel. Send him the records. We've already given up on that place, so the classification level has been lowered. Pass along this message to young Fu while you're at it. That place is already an S-rank trial realm. Something went wrong along the way and made it even more treacherous. It's likely far beyond the scope of a standard trial realm by now. My advice is to cut their losses on this night god. There's no point investing in someone who's already dead. The man in black nodded in agreement. As a senior steward of the Tai Order, he knew all too well just how strange and cursed the Yuling Tunnel was. An S-rank trial realm was already the hardest a newcomer could face, but the Yuling Tunnel was stranger than any ordinary S-rank realm. Every S-rank trial realm contains something extraordinary. Rare items, critical information, all of immense value. To crack the Yuling Tunnel, the Tai Order had stationed 2 level 1 night gods in Songhai on a long-term basis, since S-rank novice trial realms occasionally opened to level 1 walkers of the corresponding class. After months of waiting, the 2 level 1 night gods finally received an entry to the Yuling Tunnel. But what followed was horrifying. One of them entered the realm and was never heard from again. The other completed the first objective and then died during the second, and these were night gods who had items. After that, the Tai Order's Council of Elders reassessed the Yuling Tunnel and decided to abandon it entirely. The man in black smiled. If someone actually managed to clear the Yuling Tunnel and bring back what's inside, it would put the Tai Order's longest-standing regret to rest. The old man spoke slowly. In a few days, the Ordermaster will summon all night gods to the capital for a meeting. There's a major announcement coming. Go and call your people back. With that, he waved his fan to dismiss the visitor. The man in black bowed and stepped back. Yes, elder son. Ethan lay in bed, not the least bit sleepy. His ears were filled with the energetic sound effects of a video game as the TV screen flickered across the room. Auntie, you know you're kind of unhinged, right? Jade looked mildly offended. I'm just playing a horror game. That doesn't make me unhinged. Horror games are a real test of the mind. You have to study the boss patterns, get into the characters' heads. It's both therapeutic and thrilling. That gave Ethan pause. If a spirit realm were like a game, would it have rules? If there really were patterns to figure out, maybe even someone as powerless as him could make it through. Just then, a call from Grace Guan pulled him out of his thoughts. Ethan answered right away. Did you get the information on the Yuling tunnel? Grace replied, yes. The squad leader managed to get you more detailed records. I've sent it to your email. I know you young people never check your inbox, so I'm calling to let you know. Ethan opened his laptop to pull up the email. Please thank Squad Leader Lee for me. Thanks, Grace. Once I make it through the trial, dinner's on me. Grace hesitated for a moment, then spoke in an unusually gentle tone. Ethan, I'll be waiting for that dinner. After hanging up, Grace let out a long sigh. Even with records from the Tai Order, what good would it do? This newly recruited night god was probably going to die in that trial. Ethan downloaded the attachment and opened it. Yuling Tunnel, Spirit Realm Instance 0079. Difficulty rating S-Type, Solo Death Instance. Main Quest 1, Survive for 3 hours. Main Quest 2, Explore Spirit Realm Instance 0079. Same as my trial. Ethan felt a quiet surge of excitement. The closer the description matched his own task, the better. The setting for Realm Instance 0079 was not actually the Yuling Tunnel itself, but a Ming Dynasty temple known as the Sandow Mountain Goddess Temple. Based on my assessment, the goddess was likely a night god of exceptionally high rank. No, perhaps she could no longer even be called a night god. It remains unclear whether such a remarkable figure actually existed during the Ming Dynasty, or whether she was a creation of the realm itself. The first objective of surviving 3 hours was relatively manageable. After reading the journal entries inside the realm, I was immediately targeted by a shoulder wraith. Its ability was to continuously drain the yang energy from living beings until they died. As a night god, I have a natural suppressive effect on spirits, so I drove it off without much effort. However, when I attempted to absorb it, I was met with strong resistance. This was likely the realm's protection mechanism for its wraiths. Anyone who reads the journal becomes cursed and is relentlessly hunted by the shoulder wraith. Any method of repelling it only offers temporary relief. Each successful repelling buys roughly 15 minutes of safety. The Sandow Mountain Goddess Temple consists of one main hall and 2 adjoining rear courtyards. The candles inside the main hall are extraordinarily powerful items, capable of warding off evil and purifying the surroundings. As long as you stay in the main hall, you are safe. The drawback is that the candle's light eliminates fear. Prolonged exposure will leave a person fearless, and in a realm this dangerous, fearlessness is deadly. Additionally, the candle cannot be moved and cannot be taken out of the realm. Ethan mulled this over. So the safe room is a double-edged sword. You can't just hide in there forever. The candle is basically like a game mechanic that forces you to keep moving. After half an hour in the main hall, I suddenly heard cries for help coming from the rear courtyard, mixed with spine-chilling howls that didn't sound like anything alive. I hesitated, but eventually decided to go investigate. That part I can confirm firsthand. The main hall is definitely a safe room, but I hadn't realized the candles were the source. I'd assumed it was the goddess herself offering protection. Ethan quietly drew in a sharp breath. The cries came from inside the large banyan tree, but I didn't hear the howls. The east courtyard really is terrifying, he kept reading. The banyan tree is dangerous. Do not look back. Do not look back. The tree seemed to have developed some form of awareness, but why was it calling for help? I never found the source of the howling, because a pair of red dancing shoes appeared and interrupted my search. The shoes didn't attack me immediately. Instead, they invited me to dance. Curious, I accepted. But I couldn't follow the steps at all. They were too chaotic and erratic. For someone with no dance experience, it was an impossible ask. Even someone with dance training couldn't have memorized those steps. I failed, and the red dancing shoes came after me. I made it back to the main hall, but 2 of my ribs were broken in the process. I believe I've seen the shoes for what they truly are. A terrifyingly powerful item. Their tracking ignores all terrain and obstacles, and they will not stop until they accomplish their goal. My initial assessment is that these are a rule-based item. It's almost unbelievable that a trial realm contains one. Now I finally understand why Chester Chian died in the Goddess Temple despite having an item, and why no one has ever cleared this realm. Only level 1 early-stage night gods or ordinary people can enter the Yuling Tunnel. How could anyone be expected to clear it? The reason behind the Goddess Temple's decline remains unclear, as does the secret tied to 1,000 years of rise and fall. I hope to complete the second main objective and bring the truth back to the organization. The records ended there. Ethan figured this night god had most likely died during the second objective. He quickly pieced together what he knew. The shoulder wraith could be driven off by candlelight, buying 15 minutes of safety each time, and it wouldn't deal immediate damage upon latching on. The east courtyard was dangerous. Don't look back near the banyan tree, but why? Under what circumstances? What happens if you do? Why didn't the notes explain that clearly? The connection between the howling and the tree was still unclear. If they were unrelated, that was one more danger to worry about. Were the red dancing shoes truly a rule-based item? The description made them sound incredibly powerful. Looking back now, the construction workers who came before were most likely killed by the red dancing shoes. stomped until every bone in their bodies shattered. Even though his uncle had taught him some dance moves over the years, if a level 1 night god couldn't handle them, a kid like him definitely couldn't either. Though, if his uncle ran into the red dancing shoes, he'd probably dance with them forever without breaking a sweat. Then something suddenly occurred to him. Who said you had to be a dancer to beat a rhythm game? The night god's fundamental problem was that he couldn't memorize the chaotic sequence of steps. But once Ethan entered a mental overload state, memory was no obstacle for him at all. With that thought in mind, Ethan called Grace. Grace was in the middle of a bath. She picked up and asked, "Done reading the records?" Grace, what exactly is a rule-based item? The official organization has categorized items into 3 types: cost-based items, rule-based items, and a third type I don't know much about. My clearance level isn't high enough. Rule-based and cost-based items don't really rank above each other. Every item does something different, so you can't judge them by a single standard. What everyone agrees on is that rule-based items are rarer and more difficult to deal with. Every single one is worth a fortune. The way to handle a rule-based item is to find its pattern and break its rules. The part in the records about the red dancing shoes inviting someone to dance almost certainly ties into its rules. If you can fulfill the invitation, there's a chance you could claim the rule-based item. Of course, it depends on a lot of factors, whether it's willing, whether it's ownerless, and so on. But don't get your hopes up about claiming a rule-based item. It's easier said than done. Ethan moved on. Can medicine be brought into a spirit realm? Outside of normal clothing, almost nothing from the real world can be brought into a spirit realm. Medicine is an exception, but only if it's already been taken. What if it's just held in your mouth? I can't say for sure. Take care of yourself, kid. Oh, and by the way, today is Scorpio's lucky day. At 10:30 in the morning, the countdown to entering the spirit realm began. Ethan placed 5 small blue pills in his mouth and held them there. A cold mechanical voice rang out in his mind. Activating spirit realm. Spirit realm map fully loaded. Welcome to Night God Yuling Tunnel. Realm instance 0079. Difficulty rating S. Main quest 1. Survive 3 hours. Completed. Main quest 2. Explore spirit realm instance 0079. Current exploration 20%. Non-realm items may not be brought in. Good luck, Primordial Heavenly Lord. A moment later, Ethan found himself standing inside the main hall. He opened his mouth and let the blue pills fall into his palm. It worked. I'm a damn genius. Now I should be able to get through the red dancing shoes without a problem. He looked outside. Pure darkness. This place seemed locked in permanent night. Ethan reached out and touched the candle holder on the offering table. Name, never extinguishing candle. Function, ward off evil and purify. A relic left behind by the goddess of the Sandow Mountain Temple, said to be rendered from the fat of an eternal flame beast, granting it the ability to repel evil and cleanse impurities. Purging fear isn't always a good thing. Cannot be moved. So you really do have to touch it to get the information. During the first objective, he hadn't dared touch the candle, which was why he never knew it was an item. Lucky he'd read the records. He thought through his next move. The blue pills were his trump card against the red dancing shoes, but they were far from a guaranteed solution. The main courtyard had already been explored during the first objective. This time, he'd head straight for the east courtyard. This place really could get you killed the moment you step out. He took a deep breath, trying to push the fear back down. Technically, the rules allowed him to hide in the main hall indefinitely, but that would only end in starvation. The longer he waited, the worse his condition would get and the slimmer his chances would become. Either way, the blade would fall. The only option was to fight. With that thought, he stepped boldly out the door. Ethan made his way around the left side of the main hall back into the desolate, rundown courtyard. He walked past a banyan tree. The record said it was dangerous, but right now it looked like nothing more than an unusually large tree. Beside the tree sat an old well. Old wells in horror games were never a good sign. Better to go around it for now. Suddenly, something crunched beneath his foot. It was a body collapsed in the overgrown grass, wrapped in a weathered work uniform. Ethan gave himself a mental pat on the back. Look at that, so many corpses and I'm not even flinching anymore. After a closer look, the skeleton was remarkably intact. The body had fallen face down, but the skull was twisted to face backward. It had been forcibly wrenched, 180 degrees before death. Ethan went on immediate alert. What did that? At that moment, a wind rose from nowhere. The overgrown weeds in the courtyard rippled with a faint, hushed rustling. The large banyan tree behind him seemed to come alive, its branches and leaves shaking constantly. A thin, sharp voice drifted through the air, calling out, "Ethan, Ethan!" Ethan's instinct was to spin around and face whatever it was, but the words from the records flashed through his mind. Do not look back. He reached into his shirt pocket and pulled out the bronze mirror. He raised it slowly until it was level above his shoulder. In the mirror's reflection, the scene behind him was perfectly clear. Dark water was bubbling and gurgling up from the old well. A woman in white with wild, disheveled hair crawled out of the well. She had no face, only a blank, pallid expanse of flesh, yet somehow she stared directly at Ethan and called his name over and over again. Ethan's face drained of color. He let out a cry and bolted forward without looking back. The voice called after him urgently, again and again, but all it could do was watch as he ran farther and farther away. Ethan stood before a large building, gasping for air. Fortunately, the voice had not followed. The night god in the records had also been here. He had only said not to look back, not that you couldn't walk back. The faceless well ghost's call might only affect those who turned around. So when I head back, I should be safe. I want to go home. After taking a moment to steady himself, he prepared to explore the building in front of him. Ethan shoved open the rotting wooden door. The moment it swung open, he quickly stepped back and raised his guard. After a long moment with nothing happening, he worked up the courage to step inside. It was a combined kitchen and dining area. He spotted a dusty gourd ladle sitting on a shelf. He'd heard that boy's urine could ward off evil. Maybe he should collect some. He thought about it and decided against it. Sure, he'd never had a girlfriend, but given what his hands got up to every night, he was fairly certain he no longer qualified. After a thorough search, Ethan found a rusty cleaver and a wooden stick. Then he moved on to the second room. It was an armory. Swords, bows, daggers, short blades, and other weapons lined the walls. He tossed the cleaver and stick aside without a second thought. Junk. Slumped beside the weapons rack were two mummified corpses. Strange. Why mummies and not skeletons? There were two ways a body could mummify: artificial preservation or natural formation. The first could be ruled out immediately. The second typically required arid conditions like a desert environment, which clearly didn't apply here. No fatal wounds on the body. Bones weren't broken by the red dancing shoes either. But on the neck, two distinct puncture wounds were visible in the flesh, the kind that might be left by the sharp fangs of a predator. Had something drained the body dry? Suddenly a heavy thud came from the room next door, like something knocking against wood. Ethan slipped out of the room and peered through a crack in the latticed window. Inside the dim, silent room sat three old coffins. Beside the coffins lay two more mummified bodies in work uniforms. Near one of them, a bronze spike had rolled to the floor. It was about half an arm's length, cast in bronze, with scripture carvings and ornamental engravings on its handle. It resembled a Buddhist ritual pestle. It was possible this pestle was the very object originally held in the goddess's hand. Just then, the creaking sound came again. One of the coffin lids slowly began to rise, and a grayish-black hand gripped the edge and reached out. Then a horrifying figure sat up from inside the coffin, draped in tattered rags. Its face was bloated and heavily decomposed. Dead, bulging eyes protruded from sunken sockets. Its hair sat like a tangled nest of dead grass atop its skull, and two jagged fangs jutted from its rotting mouth. Time to get back to the main hall. This situation was very bad. Just then, his shoulder suddenly grew heavy. That familiar icy chill settled in and began to seep through his body. The shoulder wraith was back. Ethan wanted to cry. Had 15 minutes really passed already? As if drawn by the scent of the living, the undead, which had been tilting its head back, snapped its gaze toward the window. Those protruding eyes locked onto Ethan. The moment he realized the undead had spotted him, Ethan spun around and ran. "I want to go home. Grandpa, Grandma, Auntie Jade, and my dead old man, I want to go home." Then came a crash behind him as the wooden door was smashed to splinters. Ethan glanced back and saw the undead, wrapped in tattered rags, step out of the room with slow, deliberate menace. Every hair on Ethan's body stood on end. He launched himself forward and sprinted away. The undead took its time, calmly settling into the stance of a sprinter ready at the starting block. Then it exploded forward, hurtling after Ethan like a wolf launching at prey. Ethan's expression twisted in disbelief. Since when do undead run? Whatever happened to the hopping? This is not okay. Realizing he couldn't outrun it, Ethan used his momentum to spin and drive a spear straight into the undead's chest. He planted the butt of the spear into the ground, creating a makeshift barricade. Only then did he notice a gaping cavity in the undead's chest. The heart had been torn out. This was the senior disciple mentioned in the journal. The undead let out a furious roar and lunged through the spear, snapping the shaft with a crack. Its own momentum carried it stumbling forward. Ethan seized the moment and drew the long blade from the rack. He swung it hard at the back of the undead's skull, but it rang out with a dull clang, leaving no mark whatsoever. The thing had skin like bronze and bones like iron. The recoil shot back through the handle, splitting the skin between Ethan's thumb and index finger. He barely kept his grip on the blade. The undead spun around and raked its dark, razor-sharp claws toward him. Ethan sidestepped the killing blow, but the claws still caught his shoulder and tore through the flesh. Driven wild by the smell of blood, the undead bared its fangs and lunged for Ethan's throat. In that instant, Ethan acted on instinct and summoned a corpse-suppressing talisman. The moment the undead caught sight of the talisman, it recoiled and stumbled backward as if avoiding a venomous snake. "It's working. It's afraid of me, so it does have some level of awareness." Ethan kept his eyes locked on the undead, the shoulder wraith still clinging to him, and backed away slowly, step by step. "Please don't come out and cause trouble right now, well ghost. And you, shoulder wraith, we go way back. Ease up on the yang energy draining, would you?" The undead let out a low, unsettling growl, staring Ethan down but holding its ground. Ethan stumbled his way back toward the main hall. The moment he crossed the threshold, a ghostly wail rang in his ears, and then his shoulder lightened as every negative effect was stripped away. Now the wound on his arm throbbed with sharper pain. The blood oozing out was tinged with black. The undead's claws were indeed laced with venom. There was no antiseptic here, no tetanus shot. If the corpse venom spread, would he turn into one of those things? A torrent of thoughts rushed through his mind, but strangely he didn't feel particularly afraid. The never-extinguishing candle must be doing its work. With corpse venom in his system, there was no time to waste. He had to go straight to Plan B. Claim the red dancing shoes. If both were items, and he could already use the corpse-suppressing talismans, then the red dancing shoes should be no different. Grace had also said that breaking the rules of a rule-based item gave you a chance to claim it. There was no way he could stick a talisman to the undead's forehead on his own. Pressing a talisman against the forehead of something that powerful and aware was like a child challenging an adult with a knife. The adult might fear the blade, but that didn't mean the child could actually win. He stepped out into the courtyard in front of the main hall. "Come on then, red dancing shoes." Sure enough, the soft, rhythmic tap of footsteps approached. The red dancing shoes materialized behind him, rising and falling in a steady rhythm. "Of all the places right between me and the main hall entrance, it's cutting off my retreat." A voice sounded in his mind. "Will you dance with me?" If yes, please step in place. So it really does demand a dance. Refuse, and it kills you. That's absolutely brutal. The red dancing shoes shifted their tempo and broke into a rapid tap sequence. Ethan stared at them, his heart hammering, burning every step into his memory. After a few minutes, the red dancing shoes came to a satisfied stop. Left foot stepped back, right foot rose on the toes. Your turn. Ethan's mind slipped into that peculiar state. The last few minutes played back frame by frame in his head. This was the moment everything hinged on. He began to dance, slowly and awkwardly. At least the only witness was the red dancing shoes, and those couldn't talk, otherwise his reputation would be ruined forever. In the end, he completed every single step without a mistake. The mental strain was immense, blood began trickling from his nose. Whether he made it out of this realm alive depended entirely on this moment. A message appeared. Your dancing is as terrible as ever. The red dancing shoes then dissolved into a dim crimson glow and vanished into the night. You have completed a dance with the red dancing shoes. Congratulations, the red dancing shoes acknowledge you. However, due to the exceptional inadequacy of your dancing, the red dancing shoes will acknowledge you for 30 minutes only. Good luck. Ethan collapsed to the ground, completely drained. As sharp waves of pain pulsed through his head, he quickly swallowed the blue pills. Moments later, the pain subsided. He had survived. In the second slot of his inventory sat a pair of bright new red shoes. Name, red dancing shoes. Type, footwear. Function, tracking and pursuit. Their original owner was a princess from a kingdom in the west. She was breathtakingly beautiful and a gifted dancer. Every man in the kingdom was enchanted by her. But a wicked stepmother, jealous of her beauty and talent, had her imprisoned in a high tower. Alone, the princess danced beneath the cold moonlight and eventually died there. The red dancing shoes inherited her final wish and set out to wander the world, dancing alone and without end. Note 1, Mode 1. Throw the red dancing shoes at a designated target, and they will pursue and attack that target without stopping. Mode 2. Wearing the red dancing shoes boosts agility without consuming stamina, but they may only be worn for 5 minutes at a time. Exceed this limit, and they can never be removed. Note 2. Refuse to dance with me and face death. Ethan was elated. This was an incredible item, ignoring all physical obstacles entirely. Rule-based items were absurdly powerful, even if the recognition only lasted 30 minutes. 30 minutes was enough. He put the red dancing shoes on immediately. He made his way back to the east courtyard. He peered through the doorway into the room where the coffins were kept. The bodies, the coffins, and the bronze pestle were all still there. But where was the undead? Had it crawled back into its coffin? What Ethan didn't know was that the undead was already silently closing in from behind. The next instant, it launched itself through the air and hurled straight at him. A wave of putrid stench hit him like a wall. Ethan recoiled in shock. The moment he turned and recognized the undead, every instinct screamed at him to dodge. The red dancing shoes on his feet lit up with a dim crimson glow. Ethan's feet suddenly slipped out from under him. Before he even knew what was happening, his body had already slid forward in a low sweeping motion. The undead bent its knees and launched itself at him again. Ethan's feet moved without his control, turning with the fluid grace of a ballet spin and sweeping a clean half-circle. He cleared the undead's claws and landed behind it. His body then dropped into a split without warning, the air above him whooshing as two dark arms swept past where his head had just been. Ethan's face contorted in agony. He'd pulled something in his groin. Before he could even cry out, the red dancing shoes took over, snapping his legs together. Then they launched him violently upward. Both feet drove hard into the undead's chest. With a heavy thud, the force sent the undead crashing backward onto its back. It let out a furious, indignant roar. Ethan ignored the tearing pain in his groin. He pressed the corpse-suppressing talisman in his grip hard against the undead's forehead. The frenzied, bloodthirsty undead froze as if hit by a paralysis spell, going completely still. Ethan heaved for breath. He had made it. Then he doubled over, clutching himself, and let out a howl that could have woken the dead. Without the red dancing shoes, taking down the undead alone would have been nearly impossible. Next on the list was the faceless well ghost. But before that, there was something else that had been nagging at him. He walked straight into the room with the coffins. He bent down and picked up the bronze spike. It was bronze, yet holding it felt nothing like cold metal. It was smooth and warm, almost like jade. Name, demon-subduing pestle. Type, weapon. Function, purification, spirit suppression, and dispelling dark forces. It is the bane of all things of yin. Sacrifice your own blood to this pestle, and you will receive the power of the sun god. Just as he'd suspected, it was an item. The construction workers must have tried to use it against the undead, but failed. They couldn't claim the red dancing shoes and had lost far too many people to them. When they finally encountered the undead, they had nothing left to fight back with. Only 5 minutes left before the shoulder wraith returned. He had to deal with the faceless well ghost now. He walked over and looked down into the well. Where was she? He had clearly seen a faceless ghost crawl out of this very well. The 15 minutes were almost up. He needed to get back to the main hall. Ethan slumped weakly against the offering table. The corpse venom was spreading deeper into his system. Dizziness had already set in, and now he could feel tightness in his chest, pain in his lungs, and difficulty breathing. Time was running out. He had explored both rear courtyards and subdued the undead, yet the objective still wasn't complete. That meant there was somewhere he hadn't been. But he had checked every room, including the well. There was no way he'd missed anything. Then something stirred in him, a quiet intuition. Only the main hall itself remained. It was clear now. He was meant to place the demon-subduing pestle into the right hand of the clay statue. With that thought, he climbed up and pressed the demon-subduing pestle into the statue's open palm. Then he jumped back down from the pedestal. The surface of the pedestal split with a sharp crack. A deep rumbling followed, and it collapsed entirely. Behind the rubble, a dark underground cavity was revealed. He had guessed right. Ethan dug through the chunks of rubble one by one. He finally found the demon-subduing pestle buried among the debris and took it back into his hands. This underground cavity likely held the very source of the goddess temple's downfall. According to the item description, the demon-subduing pestle was an item imbued with the power of the sun god. Offering one's own blood would unlock that power. The note attached to the item description was unsettling, though. Powerful? At the cost of your life. The demon-subduing pestle would almost certainly be critical for what came next. Otherwise, the hint wouldn't have been so obvious. With that thought, he steeled himself and drove the demon-subduing pestle into his thigh. His blood spread through the bronze in thin, branching lines, seeping into every groove. Immediately, a warm surge of power poured out of the demon-subduing pestle and flooded up his arm and through his body. His pupils lit up with a pale golden glow, blazing into a deep, burnished bronze. The demon-subduing pestle didn't dispel the darkness, but it gave him the ability to see through it. The dizziness, shortness of breath, chest pain, and all other negative effects vanished entirely. The only discomfort that remained was the bleeding wound in his thigh. The corpse venom had been purged from his system as well. It really was power bought with his own body, but he could live with that. He focused his newly sharpened sight and looked ahead. The walls of the underground passage bore the marks of deliberate excavation. It hadn't formed naturally, and at the far end of that passage had to be the heart of the Yuling Tunnel's mystery. Just then, a chilling cry for help drifted out from the darkness ahead. Ethan ran quickly toward the end of the passage. At the end, a vast stone grotto opened before him. At the center of the grotto stood a massive, thick tree trunk. Pale human faces emerged from the bark, crying out for help in mindless, hollow wails. A hoarse, weathered voice spoke. "For the first time in all these years, a living soul has come here." The faces in the bark recoiled in fear and sank back into the wood. Ethan asked cautiously, "Who are you?" An ugly face pushed through the surface of the trunk. "I am only a tree." "Was it you who killed the disciples of the temple?" A red stone coffin slowly slid out from the base of the trunk. "No. It was the goddess of the Sandow Mountain Temple." Ethan's mind reeled. The goddess of the Sandow Mountain Temple was a powerful night god who should have ascended at the beginning of the Ming dynasty. Why would a deity kill her own disciples? The age of decline descended upon the world. Cultivators could no longer break through their limits. The goddess turned to the dark path in pursuit of immortality. She sealed herself inside the stone coffin, using the banyan tree to imprison yin souls, feeding on yin to sustain yin, preserving both her physical body and her primordial soul from decay. She was a powerful night god, and night gods are born with the ability to devour souls and grow stronger. The banyan tree absorbed too many souls. It took in their will, and slowly a consciousness was born within it. That consciousness is me. Over the years, people have stumbled into this place one by one. I have carried the hatred and resentment of the trapped souls. I have waited all this time for someone to come here and end her for me. The pieces fell into place for Ethan. But does this count as triggering an NPC quest? His eyes flickered as he asked, "What do I need to do?" "Open the stone coffin," the banyan spirit said slowly. "Pierce her heart with a demon-subduing pestle, and this will all be over." Half of her yang soul is sealed within the demon-subduing pestle. Driving it through her heart will draw the remaining yang soul from her body and seal it inside the pestle as well. With nothing left to protect her physical form, it will perish instantly, and you will be free to leave. Ethan didn't move. He said nothing. The banyan spirit couldn't hold back. "Young one, what are you still hesitating for?" "I'm thinking about something. You wouldn't happen to be the temple keeper, would you?" The banyan spirit paused for a few seconds, then spoke in a low, heavy tone. The temple keeper was the first person to be corrupted by the goddess. He became her puppet, and later became her sustenance. "If you don't believe me, come open the coffin yourself. You'll see that I haven't lied to you. Then open it for me." "I cannot open it. I am only a tree. Can't open it or won't. The one in that coffin is the temple keeper, isn't it? And you are either his guardian or his soul." For one, the goddess ascended at the beginning of the Ming dynasty, and the local authorities built this temple in her honor after her passing. The disappearance of the temple disciples, on the other hand, occurred during the Yongle era, at least 50 or 60 years later. For another, the information in the main hall indicated that the goddess was a righteous figure. Every claim about her turning to the dark path came from the banyan spirit alone. And last, most importantly, the journal said, "Do not trust the master." The realm had already been dropping hints about the true enemy through these details all along. Now I understand why the temple keeper killed the disciples. He wanted to walk the dark path himself and achieve immortality. The banyan spirit sighed. "Your guard is too high. I have no ill intentions toward you, and I would never harm you." "Won't harm me? Or can't? My guess is that you kill by twisting necks, but the method involves illusions, doesn't it? You tried to kill me not long ago, but I didn't look back." The banyan spirit's expression shifted sharply. Seeing that, Ethan knew his reasoning had been exactly right. The night god from the Tai Order's records had clearly stated two things. The banyan tree was dangerous, and do not look back. The well had turned up nothing because the well was never the problem, the tree was, and the faceless well ghost had called out Ethan, not Primordial Heavenly Lord, which meant the apparition could only have been an illusion generated from within his own mind. "You were being all sweet and cordial. because your illusions couldn't fool me anymore. With the goddess's demon-subduing pestle, I was completely immune to them. Luring me over was just a cover to kill me by other means. Since illusions had no effect on me, physical force was all you had left. As he said this, he suddenly drove the pestle straight into a nearby root. The root burst into golden flames in an instant, then it crumbled to ash. The roots blanketing the tunnel walls reacted at once, writhing and squirming across every surface. Caught in its lie, the banyan spirit dropped the act entirely. Fine, if you won't come to me then you die here. Thick roots tore up through the ground one after another. They coiled toward Ethan like twisted, grasping tentacles. Rather than retreating, Ethan slid forward, ducking beneath the roots as they reached for him. He sprang back to his feet and dodged another sweeping strike. More and more roots thrashed wildly through the cavern, yet Ethan weaved between them all with almost effortless grace. All the while, he was steadily closing the distance to the trunk. Panic flashed across the banyan spirit's face. More roots surged up to form a solid wall of wood. Ethan swung the demon-subduing pestle down hard. Golden fire raced across the surface of the wall, and the banyan spirit let out a furious shriek. Ethan used the momentum to crash through the charred, crumbling barrier. He drove the three-edged tip of the demon-subduing pestle deep into the trunk, burying it to the hilt. A blazing sun erupted from the darkness of the cave. The trunk let out a horrifying, bone-chilling scream. The souls trapped within the trunk dissolved into wisps of smoke amid the screaming, and every last ghost and spirit vanished, swallowed by the golden light. Ethan quickly deactivated the red dancing shoes. That was close. He'd nearly hit the time limit on them. The great banyan tree withered completely, its bark cracking apart. Congratulations on completing an S-rank trial. Character card unlocked. Calculating rewards. EXP reward 100%. You have become a night god. Bonus EXP 20%. Item acquired, demon subduing, pestle. Character card reward activated. Item rewarded, red dancing shoes. Exiting the spirit realm in 5 minutes. Ethan could barely contain himself. He'd actually cleared it. The Yuling tunnel, unsolved for decades, had finally been conquered. Right after finishing off the banyan spirit, Ethan sat cross-legged on the ground and began recovering his strength. The black moon mark on his forehead grew vivid. A strange, powerful force surged out of the burning mark and flooded into his body, almost violently, like it refused to be stopped. The wounds on his arms healed at a visible pace. 2 ghostly black moons appeared in his eyes. Then they slowly faded. Ethan felt a deep, heavy calm wash over his whole body, but when he looked down, he froze. His body was lying on the ground. What's going on? Am I dead? In a panic, he instinctively tried to return to his body. The moment he thought it, his soul sank back and merged with his flesh. A false alarm. He'd actually thought he was gone. He opened his character stats panel. Class, Night God, Level 1. Skills, Night Wander, Soul Devourer, Solar Spirit. Not only had he become a true Night God, but he'd also claimed the red dancing shoes for himself. He turned his gaze to the stone coffin. His quest progress read 100%, which confirmed it. The banyan spirit had been the temple keeper all along. But how had the keeper ended up as a tree spirit? And what was inside the coffin? Curiosity got the better of him. Still, he put on the red dancing shoes just to be safe. The stone coffin was wrapped and bound by withered roots. Ethan swung the demon-subduing pestle and cut through them. He slowly pushed the lid aside. Inside lay the body of a woman dressed in ancient flowing robes. Her arms were folded across her slender waist, her figure graceful, and remarkably, completely undecayed. It was unmistakably the goddess of Sandow Mountain. A strange dread crept over Ethan. Could the banyan spirit have actually been telling the truth? Was the goddess herself behind all the disappearances at the temple? No, that couldn't be right. His quest was complete, which meant his theory had been correct. Unless the goddess in the coffin was tied to a hidden quest? Ethan immediately regretted opening the coffin. If the goddess was in there, the temple almost certainly held a deeper storyline, and this could easily set off a whole chain of consequences, like triggering a hidden quest. Maybe I should just put the lid back on, he thought, pretend this never happened. Just then he noticed a metallic glint between the corpse's lips. He pinched her delicate chin and gently parted her lips to get a better look. Name, Spirit Crystal. Type, consumable. A soul crystallized and purified by the power of the sun god. It contains an enormous reserve of spiritual energy and is the most prized nourishment for a night god. The goddess of Sandow Mountain has already cleansed the impurities within. Safe to consume. Ethan reached in with 2 fingers and pinched out the small orb. It dissolved almost instantly into a thick stream of energy and shot straight into the space between his brows. EXP gained 22%. Ethan could feel the difference immediately. Stronger, sharper. He didn't even need to check his stats to sense the growth in his abilities. Rest in peace, goddess. Every holiday from now on, I'll burn a good stack of offerings for you. Ethan quietly replaced the coffin lid, as though he'd never touched it. The countdown to leaving the spirit realm had begun. Then, out of the silence, a long, slow exhale echoed through the dark cavern, followed by the grinding creak of a coffin lid being pushed open. Right behind him. First, a pale, slender hand reached out from within the coffin. Then the body inside sat straight up. The corpse's eyes, deep and still as a dark pool, swept slowly across the cavern. She held Ethan's gaze for a few seconds, then the corner of her lips curled into a smile. That smile nearly gave Ethan a heart attack. Is she rising from the dead? The corpse spoke, calm and unhurried. I will find you. Ethan turned to stone on the spot. Then the world around him fractured like a reflection on disturbed water. The countdown ended, and everything dissolved into a blur. Warm sunlight poured through the window. The curtains swayed gently in the breeze. Ethan was back in the real world, but the goddess's words still echoed in his head, and a lingering unease refused to leave him. Just as he managed to calm himself down, he glanced at his feet and saw the red dancing shoes still on them. His heart nearly stopped again. Off! Off! The shoes dissolved into a flash of red light. He'd come close to stomping his feet in a full panic. He pushed open the door and stepped out. Whatever the goddess had said, it stayed in the spirit realm. Auntie Jade gave him a meaningful look. Ethan, why did you lock your door while sleeping? I've been calling you forever. Everything in moderation, keep it up and you'll burn yourself out. Ethan practically threw himself at her, eyes welling up. Auntie, I missed you so much. You look surprisingly good today. Meanwhile, inside the precinct building, Leo walked straight toward Grace. Any word from Ethan? Grace gave a helpless look. Squad leader, that's the third time you've asked me the exact same thing. I've called Primordial 5 or 6 times already. His phone's off. Leo seemed to have expected as much. He let out a quiet breath. Let's just wait a little longer. Grace tried to reassure him. Until we know for sure, anything is possible, like Schrodinger's cat. You don't know if it's alive or dead until you open the box. Wade couldn't help cutting in. That's not how Schrodinger's cat works. Statistically speaking, without some special advantage or outside help, Ethan's odds of clearing the Yuling tunnel are basically zero. Grace and Leo both shot him a look. Shut up. Did I say something wrong again? Wade quietly looked down at his desk. Socially hopeless, Leo and Grace thought at the same time. It really does take a comparison to feel the difference. Think about Primordial. Good looking, smooth with words. If he could actually join the team, work wouldn't be nearly so dull. What a shame if luck ran out on him. If they still couldn't reach him by end of shift, there'd be nothing left to hope for. Just then, her phone rang. The caller ID read, Primordial Heavenly Lord. Grace shot up from her chair so fast she slammed into her desk, sending everything on it clattering to the floor. Her face was a mix of shock and barely contained joy. Leo kept his expression tight. Speakerphone. Grace's hand trembled as she hit answer. Holding her excitement in check, she said carefully, Primordial? Hey Grace, I cleared the trial and made it out of the temple. Grace and Leo both went still. Even Wade, who rarely paid attention to anything, looked up with genuine shock. After a few stunned seconds, Leo couldn't hold it in. He broke into an excited flail. Oh my god, this is a miracle. I can't believe this is real. Then he caught himself, reined it in, and straightened up. Composure. Always composure. The Yuling tunnel, an S-rank spirit realm that the Tai Order had declared unclearable, had just been conquered. This would send shockwaves through the community. Primordial would make a name for himself overnight. On top of that, S-rank rewards were substantial, and the first clear bonus was especially valuable, the most effective shortcut for any organization looking to grow. Last, and most critically, there were only a handful of Night God trial grounds in the Songhai region. The Yuling tunnel had been a black hole, swallowing up countless Night God candidates over the years. With a proper guide in hand, the number of Night Gods produced each year could increase significantly. The rewards would never match the first clear again, but what the higher-ups cared about was the steady supply of Night Gods, and that alone would be enough to get the 5 Elements Alliance Elder Council's attention. Grace murmured, almost to herself, how did you pull that off? Ethan's reply was perfectly in character with his username. Nothing to it, I breezed right through. It's basically a walk in the park. Leo's voice turned brisk. Good. Very good. Get to the office right now. After the call ended, Wade couldn't help remarking, that guy has abilities beyond the ordinary. I don't know which kind, but he definitely does. Squad leader, I think you just picked up a freak. Leo smiled with visible satisfaction. A freak? No, that's called a genius. Back in his office, Leo wasted no time drafting a message. Centurion, I have something to report. Just received word. The Night God I recruited has passed the trial and returned. He successfully cleared the Yuling tunnel. He sent it. A little over 10 seconds later, his phone rang. The screen read, Centurion. He grabbed it immediately. The voice on the other end was cold. Leo, you'd better stand behind what you just said. Centurion, I know it sounds unbelievable, but I just got off the phone with him. I wasn't expecting anything, either. This was a genuine surprise. Anyone who can clear the Yuling tunnel is no ordinary person. Leo, you've brought real talent to the White Tiger Corps. I'll report this to the Elder Council and credit you with a major contribution. Leo could barely hide his excitement. Then something occurred to him and he lowered his voice. Should we keep this quiet? The White Tiger Corps in Kangyang recruiting a Night God is already common knowledge at the captain level. It won't stay under wraps for long. Besides, the 5 Elements Alliance and the Tai Order have a standing agreement. Any Night God that emerges anywhere in the country is subject to the Tai Order's right of first selection. That agreement is exactly why the 5 Elements Alliance barely has any Night Gods of its own. So why hide it? The Tai Order has already made it clear they don't want this one. They don't get to walk that back. What you should be watching is the Alliance's own internal politics. Don't let what happened with the 100 Flowers Society happen again. We lead by example. Leo replied with genuine humility. Please, Centurion, I'm listening. Make him permanent staff and raise his pay. I don't like buying loyalty with money. Money pulls people together and then scatters them just as fast. Character is what holds people long-term, but character takes time to show. Money works fast. Have him write up that guide as soon as possible. I want the key details from the Sandow Mountain Temple, and it'll let us return a favor to the Tai Order while we're at it. After the call ended, Leo couldn't help but admire him. For someone so young, Centurion understood power and money with a rare depth, truly worthy of his title as one of the 4 Lords of the Alliance. Then he noticed he'd been tagged in the Kangyang District Spirit Realm Walker admin group chat. It was Ivy, captain of the 100 Flowers Society, asking how the new Night God recruit was doing. Before Leo could respond, Drake, who had a history with Ivy, jumped in with a jab. That's cold, Ivy. You know full well no one can clear Yuling. Why twist the knife? The fire master chimed in with something equally dismissive. He's obviously dead. Just yesterday someone in my district went missing in the Yuling tunnel. Poor guy still hasn't turned up. Leo let out a quiet, satisfied sound. Oh, you're all going to be very jealous of me. Then he casually dropped a 1,000 yuan red envelope into the group chat. The ones who'd been talking immediately grabbed it out of reflex and said their thanks. Then it hit them. Leo, what are you implying? Say it straight. Thanks for the concern, everyone. My new recruit just cleared the Yuling tunnel without a hitch. Vincent, the Tai Order's night god, was the first to respond. Leo, don't joke around. Then Centurion posted in the group. As of today, the first clear of the Yuling tunnel belongs to the 5 Elements Alliance. I will upload the full guide to the database shortly. As an S-rank trial ground, this instance produces night gods of a higher caliber than most. I trust this will prove invaluable to the organization's night god development program. The group went silent for a long time. Vincent was seething with a mix of disbelief and envy. How? The Yuling tunnel had stumped even the Tai Order, and now it had been cleared? How did some newcomer manage it? Someone this capable, shouldn't he be with the Tai Order? He started to feel a quiet resentment toward the Elder. Elder Sun had been careless, reckless with his promises. The Tai Order had just let genuine talent slip through their fingers for nothing. Not long after, Ethan arrived at the precinct. He knocked on Grace's office door with an easy confidence. Hey everyone, I'm here. I thought our college boy was a little puppy. Turns out he's more of a wolf. Congratulations on becoming a night god. Come here, big sister's got a reward for you. Grace opened her arms wide. Ethan waved her off. Your hugs cost too much. I'll pass for now. A temptress like you isn't going to rattle a man of my impeccable virtue. Grace laughed. You're so adorable when you play the gentleman. Come on, squad leader wants to see you. Then Grace added, almost casually, I'm guessing you came out with quite a bit from the spirit realm. You don't have to tell me. Knowing when to keep your cards close is a basic skill for any walker. Ethan muttered under his breath. I wasn't planning to. The moment Leo saw Ethan, he got straight to the point. Do you know what I was most worried about? That someone would intercept you on the way here. He poured a glass of red wine as he continued. You did extremely well. In a bit, I'll need you to write up a detailed account of how you cleared it. But first, did you come across anything unusual in the temple? Wade appeared in the doorway, laptop in hand. Can I come in? Get in here, and help Ethan put together that guide while you're at it. So Ethan spent the next hour walking them through everything that happened inside the temple. Wade sat there the whole time, typing rapidly as he listened. Ethan kept a few things to himself, though. He said nothing about the character card reward. He wasn't ready to reveal the red dancing shoes just yet. After listening patiently, Leo said, That item you came out with, the demon-subduing pestle, the one that counters dark entities, that must have been your clear reward. And it's clearly not a low-grade item. We joke that the spirit realm is like a game, but that's all it is. A joke. Items in the spirit realm are rare, and every one of them is one of a kind. Now that you've brought that item out, the part where you have to kill the wood demon may no longer appear. The Yuling tunnel's difficulty will naturally drop. Grace took the chance while Leo sipped his wine to add, Spirit realm dungeons shift dynamically. You take an item out, difficulty goes down. Someone dies inside and a monster picks it up, difficulty goes up. The red dancing shoes are the perfect example of that. Also, tasks vary by level, so any guide can only serve as a reference. The real experience will always differ. Wade stated plainly, it won't go down. The red dancing shoes are still in the dungeon. But there's something off about what you described. The rewards and information you've mentioned don't line up with S-rank difficulty. Are you holding something back? Ethan nearly lost his composure. That was blunt. I haven't even finished mentally drafting my excuse yet, he said awkwardly. I wasn't hiding it, I was just getting to it. There was actually a stone coffin in the cavern besides the wood demon. Leo's eyes sharpened instantly. A stone coffin? What was inside it? Even thinking back on it now gave Ethan a chill. The goddess of Sandow Mountain was inside. When I opened the lid, she woke up. Leo's eyes went slightly wide. She woke up? He lost all composure. He paced the office, brow furrowed. If she's truly awake, there are two possibilities. First, the Sandow Mountain Temple is no longer a night god trial ground. It's been upgraded to a higher-tier dungeon. Second, the temple gets downgraded, but a new high-tier dungeon appears elsewhere. Either way, a shift in night god trial grounds is a matter of deep concern for the upper echelons of the Tai Order. This information is extremely significant. Grace looked almost envious. Keep going. The more critical the information, the bigger the reward the organization gives you. I'm not worried about the money. Honestly, the old hag dead for hundreds of years, she smiled at me. I have this feeling she'll actually come looking for me. It doesn't sit right. Wade offered what he clearly thought was genuine comfort. Don't flatter yourself. Someone at your level isn't going to cross paths with a figure like that. Ethan was speechless. If you can't say something helpful, don't say anything. Grace asked with a grin. Was the goddess beautiful? More beautiful than you, Wade added completely earnestly, and probably more valuable as a research subject. Grace barely kept her fury in check. Both of you can drop dead. Meanwhile, in a traditional courtyard estate in the capital, a middle-aged man in black was quietly reporting to Elder Sun. Word just came from Songhai. The night god recruited by Centurion has cleared the Yuling tunnel. Elder Sun let out a startled cry. Get word to Vincent immediately. Tell him not to breathe a word of this or I'll have nowhere left to show my face. But everyone already knows, Elder. Your face. The man hesitated, too uncertain to finish. Elder Sun stood there, struck dumb. At least Centurion has already sent us the guide. There's something else you should know. The ancient day god has awakened. The Crimson Judge is requesting an immediate meeting. Elder Sun's expression grew heavy, troubled with something deeper than concern. Back at the precinct, Ethan sat at his desk and opened the Five Elements Alliance's internal forum. He paused when he reached the description of his own class. Night God, chosen of the Yin, specializes in assassination and commanding dark entities. Class mark, Black Crescent Moon. Combat power, formidable. But something bothered him. The description said Black Crescent Moon, so why did a full black circle appear on his forehead? He considered asking Grace, then thought better of it. If it was different from the norm, it was unusual. Until he knew whether that was good or bad, it was better to say nothing. And the forum had no mention of it at all, which meant this wasn't something people at a low level were supposed to encounter. The higher something ranked, the more carefully it had to be kept quiet. That much was common sense. This was staying a secret for now. Hey Grace, I have a question. I was browsing the forum and it looks like the Sandow Mountain Goddess Temple is a real place. So did the goddess actually exist? The spirit realm sits between reality and illusion. A lot of the settings are based on real places, like the Lingang Reservoir and Jiangshui Park. But obviously the real versions don't have all that weird stuff. If they did, the world would have fallen apart long ago. Ethan breathed a long sigh of relief. So the goddess was real, but what I saw was just the spirit realm's version of her. Alright, fine, that works. Stay in your realm, old hag. Grace reached over and pinched his chin. You're really that scared of her coming for you? Didn't you say she was a great beauty? More beautiful than me? Come on, Grace. Don't hold a grudge. Just then Leo walked over. Grace, come with me. One of the White Tiger Corps scouts was found dead at a hotel. Before leaving, he turned to Ethan. Nothing else for you this afternoon. Go to class. Ethan nodded. A spirit realm walker murdered. The real world, it seemed, was just as dangerous. Elsewhere, at a busy banquet hall, night gods filled the round tables throughout the room. An elderly man with a full head of white hair entered the hall. He was the Grand Elder of the Taiyi Order, known in the spirit realm as the Crimson Judge. The Crimson Judge spoke to the assembled members slowly and deliberately. Our Grandmaster recently sensed the fall of the Demon Lord. The Taiyi Order's greatest threat has been eliminated. However, the Demon Lord's character card has not returned to the spirit realm. Its whereabouts are unknown. Your next task is to locate the Demon Lord's successor at all costs. This successor has two distinguishing features. The class mark is not a crescent, but a full black circle. And upon clearing a spirit realm trial, they receive a character card reward that ordinary night gods do not. Back with Ethan, the boost from becoming a night god was already making itself felt. The bicycle that used to wear him out now got him to the university gate in just 10 minutes flat. He caught two guys muttering behind him. I just saw Vivian at the gate again, waiting for her sugar daddy. Don't talk nonsense, my goddess would never do that. I'm serious, every Monday some guy picks her up in a car worth hundreds of thousands. I saw it last week. Vivian happened to be the most popular girl in Ethan's class. The moment they spotted Ethan, they clammed up and gave him a quick nod. Ethan thought to himself, even the campus beauty has been pulled in by that world. What a rotten, glittering trap of a society. At the Maile Hotel in Kangyang District, the entire 6th floor had been cleared of guests. A cordon was set up at the elevator entrance to the hallway. Officers in uniform worked the hallway leading to the room, photographing the scene, collecting fingerprints and hair samples. Inside the room, Grace was briefing Leo on the details of the case. The male victim is Rex, advisor at the Shangshui Road branch of the Public Security Bureau, a White Tiger Corps member, and a level 2 scout. The female victim is Lily, a civilian, Rex's mistress. There are no signs of a struggle in the room and no evidence that the scene was tampered with. The trash can contains 2 used condoms, but 3 are missing from the box. While Grace continued her report, Leo used his cane to lift the white sheet. A man and a woman lay on the bed, both unclothed. Both had been killed by a sharp object through the heart with no signs of physical abuse. Based on the missing condoms, I suspect Lily was assaulted by the killer before she was killed. Leo replaced the sheet and said gravely, a 5 Elements Alliance member has been murdered. This is serious. Grace continued. Officers have reviewed the footage. There's no sign of how the killer left. He must have had some special method to avoid the cameras. Initial assessment is that the killer is a spirit realm walker. An ordinary walker wouldn't dare kill someone from the official organization. We're not sure yet if this is the work of a walker with an evil class. Leo instructed, start by looking into Rex's recent contacts. If this was done by an evil class walker, the severity of this goes up another level. How capable was Rex in a fight? Rex had a defensive item on him. A level 2 scout isn't built for combat, but with a defensive item, taking him down wouldn't have been easy, especially without alerting anyone in the neighboring rooms. So based on that alone, we can already say the killer is highly capable. Just then, an officer rushed in. Just got this. Rex had quite a number of mistresses. He had a particular taste for college girls. We're going through them one by one. He never used the same hotel twice when meeting his mistresses, but the killer went straight to the right address and room number, which means they either knew him well or had been tracking him for a long time. The one who knows you best is always the woman by your side. We may be able to get something useful from Rex's mistresses. Rex was tortured before he died. Think about it. What was the killer asking? What did they get out of him? Whether this was personal or professional, these are questions we need to take seriously. Grace suggested, we could bring Vincent in and have him devour Rex's soul, pull his memories, then we'd know exactly who the killer is. Leo understood just how valuable a night god who could handle souls was in a moment like this, but he let out a helpless sigh. The Taiyi Order summoned all official night gods to the capital for a meeting yesterday. Vincent isn't in Songhai. Grace felt a cold weight settle in her chest. If they were all called to the capital, then every night god across all districts would be gone too. Isn't that a little too convenient? The killer chose exactly this window, when every night god in the country is away. Then it hit her. I almost forgot. Primordial is a night god. We don't need to go begging the Tai order for help. Leo gave a small nod. Grace was already moving. I'll reach out to him right now. Meanwhile, at school, the teacher was in the middle of a lecture, but Ethan was staring at his phone, completely tuned out. He was browsing the 5 Elements Alliance's internal forum. Spirit realm levels, the Transcendent stage, levels 1 to 3, the Saint stage, levels 4 to 6. After the Saint stage, there was a link. Ethan tapped it. Access denied. He grumbled internally. Hate these permission walls. Just then, Grace called. His heart lurched. Why is she calling me now? Grace, I'm in class right now. He half expected her to mess with him. Instead, Grace's voice came through sharp and urgent. School gate, 20 minutes. I'm picking you up. Ethan was at the gate right on time. Grace had been waiting. She said simply, get in. Ethan climbed in, confused. Weren't you off investigating the scout murder? Grace asked, not entirely sure what to expect. We need a night god to devour a soul and read the memories. You can handle that, right? Should be fine. I can try. Devouring souls is a built-in ability for night gods, but I've never actually done it before. No experience reading memories that way, so I can't make any promises. Then we'll see how it goes. Just then, Ethan caught sight of a girl walking past in a pleated skirt. She was carrying a designer bag, dressed head to toe in things that cost a small fortune. It was Vivian, the campus beauty from his class. An ordinary girl from an ordinary background couldn't pull off that kind of look. In the morgue of the Kangyang District Public Security Bureau, Ethan stood beside the slab and looked down at the badly damaged body. After everything he'd been through in the Sandow Mountain Temple, a corpse no longer rattled him the way it once would have. Leo stood nearby, expectant. You can begin. Ethan studied Rex's body and felt it, a faint, lingering soul inside the cold flesh, slowly stirring, slowly awakening. A night god's presence was irresistible to trapped souls. It could rouse even the most dormant spirit. He quietly drew on the solar spirit within him. His eyes went white, iris and sclera both. He reached out toward Rex's body and closed his hand in a slow, deliberate grasp. A ghostly figure emerged. It wore Rex's face, but the expression was blank, the eyes hollow. After death, most of a person's consciousness dissolves. What remains of the soul is dim and unresponsive, holding only the memories tied to the deepest obsessions, and the moments before death, being the most intense, are the easiest to preserve. The moment the soul was out, Ethan felt an instinctive hunger rise in him. He opened his mouth and inhaled, almost without thinking. Rex's soul dissolved into a thin wisp of smoke and drifted in. His mind expanded violently. Things that weren't his flooded in. He heard it faintly, a low, whimpering cry, and then a cold, threatening voice. My patience is running out. You'd better start talking. He saw a young woman curled on the floor, crying softly. She had nothing on. Clothes were scattered across the floor, a woman's undergarments among them. A woman, undressed. The image stopped Ethan cold. Nobody warned me it looked like this. I'm still practically a kid. This is not appropriate. Through the dead man's eyes, he saw at first a gleaming willow blade knife. A man with a brutal face snarled at him. Where is the Holy Grail? Where is the roster? The man had a scar roughly half a finger in length on his left cheek, sparse eyebrows and eyes that were cold and dangerous. I don't know. I really don't know. Please let me go. What struck Ethan as strange was that the voice begging for mercy was his own. The man's patience snapped. I gave you a chance and you wasted it. His eyes filled with intent to kill. He said it again. I gave you a chance and you wasted it. The words had barely left his mouth before the willow blade drove into Ethan's chest. His skull exploded in pain. Consciousness collapsed in an instant. He slumped to the ground, helpless, and watched the man undo his belt, grab the woman by the ankle, and drag her toward him. The vision cut out. Ethan snapped back to himself. Devouring a soul felt deeply satisfying and deeply wrong at the same time. I saw the killer's face. Reading a soul's memories was disturbing in a way he hadn't expected. A strong, bone-deep fear clung to him, the shadow of someone else's death, lingering and slow to lift. Grace spread her arms. Come here, big sister's got you. Leo cleared his throat twice. This is a crime scene. Have some dignity. What did he look like? Any distinguishing features? Male. Somewhere between 30 and 35. Medium build, solidly built, scar on the left cheek about half a finger long, sparse eyebrows, very menacing eyes. The killer has very distinctive features. That makes things easier. Did he assault the female victim? Ethan thought back to how the memory had ended. Most likely, yes. Grace frowned. Squad leader, I think the killer may have a serious mental instability. Leo nodded, visibly disgusted. This piece of garbage deserves to rot. Ethan wasn't quite following. Anyone capable of something this brutal, how would they not be mentally unstable? Leo stroked his mustache with 2 fingers. Remember how the morality score penalty works? Ethan nodded. Killing Rex's mistress to silence her, that's a calculated move. But assaulting her first adds an extra morality score deduction on top of it. Leo's explanation clicked something into place for Ethan. Spirit realm walkers who committed crimes had their morality score docked accordingly. Any rational person would avoid triggering the penalty system. Killing to silence a witness was a reluctant necessity, but assaulting someone before killing them, that was an extra deduction, and a completely avoidable one. Only 2 types of people do something like this. Either their morality score is so high they genuinely don't fear the penalty, or the killer's mental state has deteriorated to the point where they can no longer control their own impulses. Grace rested her chin on her hand. A mentally unstable walker, regardless of class alignment, has to be eliminated. Someone like that loose in a major city is a ticking bomb. Even if their morality score drops below 60 and the spirit realm broadcasts their location to every walker in the city, in that window alone, a person with supernatural abilities could level a whole street before anyone gets there. The spirit realm takes a serious toll. Solo instances especially, the death rate is brutal. A lot of walkers who make it through still carry psychological scars they never fully shake. Over time, mental deterioration becomes almost inevitable, night gods especially. If you ever feel like something's off with you, tell us. The organization will get you support. Ethan nodded, the weight of what he'd just experienced still clinging to him. Understood. By the way, did they find any DNA from the killer at the scene? Grace shook her head. Ethan felt a flicker of frustration. Looks like he cleaned up after himself. If we had a biological sample from the killer, the red dancing shoes could track him down. Leo asked, what else did you see in Rex's memories? The killer was interrogating Rex, trying to find out where the Holy Grail and the roster were. Grace and Leo exchanged a glance. Neither of them had any idea what those were. What did the Holy Grail and the roster represent? Ethan shook his head. Nothing in the memory pointed to that. This case runs deeper than we thought. Rex was keeping a lot from us. Leo patted Ethan on the shoulder. Well done. You gave us something real to work with. Once we bring down the killer, I'll make sure you get credit. For now, go with Grace and work with the tech team on a facial composite. Yes, squad leader. Just as Ethan and Grace were heading out, Leo called after Grace. Oh, get him fitted for a suit. He wears formal dress in the office from now on. They left the morgue. Grace smiled. Formal dress in the office from now on. Ethan nodded. I know big organizations tend to have strict dress codes. Grace laughed. No, this has nothing to do with the organization. It's squad leader's personal rule. He thinks casual clothes lack elegance. Ethan couldn't help muttering, what does a suit have to do with elegance? Then his eyes drifted to Grace's long legs and trim figure, and he suddenly thought, maybe squad leader had a point. A person ought to care about elegance. He opened his stats panel. EXP had climbed from 42% to 44%. After devouring the soul, a warm current had spread through his body. He felt good. The solar spirit seemed stronger too. Grace, I gained 2% EXP. He was pleased. Night gods can level up by absorbing souls, but the ones from the Tai order always look like they'd rather be anywhere else whenever they're asked to do this. Every single time, miserable faces, no enthusiasm. Why is that? Grace rolled her eyes in a way that somehow still looked elegant. How would I know? I'm just a helpless little scout. Come on. Even if scouts aren't fighters by nature, a level 2 feats base stats would still crush mine, and after a scout hits level 4 and advances, the solo combat capability becomes genuinely terrifying. The transcendent stage alone, the physical conditioning must be incredible. He looked at her skeptically. Helpless. Right. Grace's eyes drifted downward with a sly smile. Never tested it. Want to step into the bathroom and let Big Sister find out? Ethan waved his hands frantically. Please don't. I'm practically a child. The tech team had used Ethan's description to produce a rough likeness of the killer. Ethan studied it, rubbing his chin. That's about 70, maybe 80% accurate. Grace ran it through the population database and got a match almost immediately. Owen, originally from Wuzhou, Jiangnan province, long-term resident of Songhai, convicted of aggravated assault in 2012 and sentenced to prison. No record of him after his release. Leo nodded. With this, we'll have him within 2 hours at the latest. Ethan hadn't expected it to move this fast. Grace stood and walked toward the door. Trust what the official organization and its scouts can do. Ethan, you're done here. Night gods hit hard, but you haven't built up a soldier's nerve or mindset yet. Go home. Ethan agreed without a second thought. Light workload, decent pay, this job was everything. After Ethan left, Leo and Grace took the elevator down. Squad leader, do you think he might have already left Songhai? He did just kill an official walker. Leo shook his head. He won't have. Ethan said the killer was looking for the Holy Grail and the roster. He won't leave until he finds them. Grace was at a loss. Just what were those two things? The only way to find out was to catch him. When he got home, Grandma had already finished cooking dinner. The whole family was getting ready to eat. Auntie Jade turned to her mother and said, Mom, our hospital is haunted. Grandma perked up immediately. Really? Ethan's attention was caught as well. Goodness, what's all this haunting business about? Come on, tell me everything. Joyce from our department was on the night shift. When she heard children laughing inside the office, she went in to check, and the laughter stopped. Then she went to the restroom and saw a baby perched on her shoulder in the mirror. It nearly frightened her to death. And it wasn't just her. Other colleagues on the night shift said they'd sometimes hear children laughing in the middle of the night too. Everyone saying it must be the spirit of some aborted baby, lingering in the hospital out of resentment. Grandma nodded. That is strange. I'd say that's probably what it is. Next time you have a night shift, have Ethan go with you. Ethan's mind immediately started working. Looks like the hospital is a great place to grind some experience. After dinner, he quietly made his way to the nearest major hospital. Strengthening himself before the next trip into the spirit realm was a must, and Soul Devour was currently his best method for leveling up. Even at the same level, the difference between 99% and 1% experience was like night and day in terms of combat power. A hospital was exactly the kind of place a night god could farm experience. Birth, old age, sickness, and death, it all passed through the hospital. Crematoria would have worked too, but everyone in Songhai was out in the suburbs, which was far too much trouble. What he couldn't figure out, though, was why such an effective way to build experience was something the night gods of the Tai order seemed to strictly avoid. Was it considered bad karma by their code, or was there some other reason? He was sitting in the hospital lobby, scrolling through the official Spirit Realm Walker forum on his phone, but couldn't find a single relevant post. Then a new notification popped up, a wanted notice. Owen, a rank 3 Bewitcher. Owen killed Rex, a scout of the White Tiger Corps under the 5 Elements Alliance on April 18th. On the evening of April 19th at 7:05 p.m., he escaped a coordinated takedown by the Kangyang District Spirit Realm Walker Squad. He carries some kind of terrifying dark power and is far beyond an ordinary bewitcher. He was severely wounded by the Kangyang Squad, and his current whereabouts are unknown. All regional Spirit Realm Walker Squads are advised. Owen is on the verge of losing control. Engage and eliminate on sight. 50,000 yuan for credible information. 100,000 yuan for a confirmed kill. The comments were brutal. A threat like this could snap at any moment. What is the Kangyang squad even doing? By the time anyone else gets there after he goes on a rampage, it'll already be a bloodbath. Spirit realm walkers across the country are going to be laughing at us, collecting fat paychecks while doing absolutely nothing. Ethan didn't quite know what to think. Squad leader's team had moved fast, but they'd let Owen, a walking time bomb, slip right through their fingers. Impressive speed, terrible results. Still, since they'd already clashed, Owen must have left blood or tissue at the scene. The red dancing shoes should be able to track him down, but he quickly talked himself out of it. Better to keep the red dancing shoes under wraps. The Five Elements Alliance was an official organization after all, and they might have other means of tracking the Bewitcher. Besides, he was just a rank one-night god, a complete nobody among spirit realm walkers. If word got out that he carried a rule-based item, he'd invite trouble. Better to keep a low profile. Leveling up was what mattered. Suddenly, he noticed an old man drifting past, something between real and not quite there. The old man's eyes were blank, his movements stiff and mechanical as he passed through the crowd. He looked hollow and withered, his white eyes deeply unsettling, radiating an aura of pain and regret, the look of someone who had died with unfinished business. People who died often became wraiths. No one ever accepted death willingly. Their longing for life and fear of death had nowhere to go. It curdled into helpless resentment. Ethan parted his lips and drew a soft breath. The old man's spirit dissolved into pale smoke and drifted gently into his mouth. A throbbing pressure bloomed between his brows, and his consciousness suddenly expanded. In an instant, he read the fractured memories of the old man's final days. The old man had died from late-stage lung cancer, spending the second half of his life ground down between the ravages of the disease and the brutal toll of chemotherapy, coughing up blood, losing his hair, gasping for air, racked with pain. He had not gone quietly. His last lingering thought was bitter regret. Why had he ever smoked? Never again. Ethan's eyes snapped open, and the words tumbled out before he could stop them. Never again. I'm done with cigarettes. Then it hit him that something was off. Everyone around him in the lobby was staring. He scratched the back of his head and laughed awkwardly. Bad lungs. Quitting. He pulled up his status screen and a silver-blue display unfolded before him. Experience 44.5%. Rex's spirit had been worth 2 experience points. An ordinary person was only worth 0.5. Like a common mob compared to an elite enemy. Consuming ordinary spirits would be a slow grind, but the hospital had no shortage of them. All these spirits drifting through the halls would let his strength grow at a visible pace. Ethan turned none of them away. Then his eye caught a young man nearby, slight in build, handsome-looking, promising. He parted his lips slightly, and a powerful pull reached out. The young man's spirit dissolved into pale smoke and drifted gently into his mouth. The familiar pressure throbbed between his brows, and his consciousness expanded once more. Ethan immediately began reading the young man's fragmented final memories. It was 2 a.m. The young man was being half-carried back to his room by a muscular friend. Ethan couldn't control the body, but through the memory he could tell the young man was completely wasted. The young man slumped fully against his friend. Ethan wondered, had he died from alcohol poisoning? A sudden cardiac event, maybe? The friend carefully removed his shoes and laid him gently on the bed. Seems like a decent guy, but before the thought had even finished, he noticed the friend starting to undress the young man. Ethan froze. Something felt very wrong. Then the muscular man began running his hands over the young man's body. The young man murmured something in his daze. Honey. Ethan recoiled internally. No. Please tell me this guy is not. The muscular man squeezed a generous amount of lubricant onto his hand. Turn over, he slurred, his breath reeking of alcohol. Let me get you ready. Ethan's mind went white. It was like a thunderbolt straight to the skull. No, you cannot be doing this right now. In a blind panic, he wrenched himself out of the memory. His eyes flew open. His face was white, his expression horrified, his back soaked with cold sweat. The woman sitting next to him leaned over with concern. You okay, young man? An elderly man nearby chimed in. Did you register? What's wrong? Ethan slowly got to his feet. I'm fine, just need to use the restroom. He bolted into the bathroom and turned on the tap. He splashed handful after handful of cold water onto his face. That was traumatizing. Men are terrifying. I just endured something no man should ever have to witness. Only now did it hit him. The young man hadn't died from drinking at all. With a visible shudder, he forced that image as far down as it would go and let out a long, slow exhale, as if trying to breathe out every last trace of the mental contamination. Soul Devour as a power-leveling method was starting to feel deeply questionable. No wonder the Tai Order Night Gods refused to do it. If this kept up, losing one's sanity was the least of his concerns. He forced himself to check his stats and calm down. The mental contamination passed on through absorbing spirits was genuinely horrifying, but the benefits were immediate. His experience was now at 46%. His night wander duration hadn't increased, still 9 seconds, but his physical stats had improved noticeably. Vitality and regeneration were both up. At least he had something to show for it. Even if his innocence had taken some serious damage, the gains were real. Once he'd settled himself down, Ethan headed home. The mental contamination hadn't cleared yet. It was too soon to absorb any more spirits. The following morning, in a high-end office building, Marcus said coolly, 5 squad leaders, over a dozen members, and dozens of security officers, and the Bewitcher still got away. I'm deeply disappointed in all of you. Across the long conference table sat everyone who had taken part in the operation. 5 squad leaders and 12 members. Leo and Grace were among them. One of the Red Fire Gang's heavyset members couldn't hold back. Centurion, he said quietly. Owen had clearly been corrupted by some kind of dark power. He was stronger and more unhinged than anything we'd expected. That's why we failed. And a Bewitcher is already one of the strongest classes out there. Marcus's voice was flat. Failure is failure. Any excuse is just a coward's way of refusing to admit it. Faced with Marcus's overbearing, aristocratic presence, the man didn't dare press further. Understood. Understood. Marcus swept a sharp gaze across the room. Because of your failure, the situation has escalated. A severely wounded Bewitcher corrupted by dark power could lose control at any moment. Given how brutal a Bewitcher is by nature, the casualties would be catastrophic. Every Spirit Realm Walker squad in Songhai City is now involved in the manhunt. If Owen is not eliminated within 3 days, every one of you is going back to the training camp. Everyone in the room exchanged uneasy glances. Marcus gave a cold, humorless laugh. Of course, I bear some responsibility here as well. I made the mistake of expecting too much from you and overestimating your abilities. So for the next 3 days, I'll be joining the hunt personally. Since Owen is after the roster and the Holy Grail, his next move will be to target Rex's family or someone close to him. Follow that lead. You don't have much time. Dismissed. Grace, stay. When the room had emptied, and only the 2 of them remained, Marcus frowned at the woman casually filing her nails. Leo told me you were injured. Grace looked up impatient. Just say what you came to say. I have work to get back to. Our aunt called me. She wants you back in the country next month to meet the fiancé she arranged for you. I made myself very clear. I won't be sacrificed for the sake of family alliances. Just because she's willing to be the family's pawn doesn't mean I am. Honestly, the Fu family is such a bore. Marcus, take over already and put those old fossils out to pasture. Marcus's voice was firm. If you don't want the arranged marriage, then prove yourself. Stop wasting your potential. The elders only respect strength, like me, like our aunt. Here's what I'll do. I'll transfer you to another squad. Unit 3 in Shanghai District has a solid track record, pulling in commendations every year. Build up your resume there, and I'll have a real reason to turn Aunt down on your behalf. Grace furrowed her brow. I won't pretend Unit 2 has been impressive. It's hard to argue with that offer. But there's a new kid on our squad who's been pretty interesting. Let me watch him a little longer. She stood and walked toward the door. You should worry about yourself first. If Owen goes on a killing spree in Songhai, that's a stain on your record that never goes away. They'll do everything they can to block you from joining the Elder Council. Cousin Grace was gone. Interesting. The backing she had clearly ran deep. That morning, Ethan headed toward the main academic building. The plan, morning classes, then in the afternoon, connect with veteran Grace. Or rather, as he'd put it to himself, build rapport, deepen the friendship, expand his social network. Behind him, a classmate named Tyler was telling someone, yesterday some security officers came looking for Vivian, and she spent the whole evening crying in the dorm. The other students' ears perked up immediately. Security officers? What happened? For college students, that sort of thing felt like it belonged to another world entirely. Apparently, the rich guy who was keeping her got into some kind of trouble. The officers were there to ask about him. The other students speculated, he didn't run off with the money, did he? With the economy the way it is, you hear about these wealthy guys going under all the time. Ethan listened to the gossip with his own quiet take on it. She can find another sponsor. What's there to cry about? Don't stake everything on one dead end. His gaze drifted across the glass to the students moving around below, and then he stopped. Ethan halted mid-step. A pretty girl in a pink skirt, the very person they'd been talking about, Vivian, was leaning against a man's arm, nestled close like she didn't have a choice. The man had thin brows, a vicious stare, and a scar cutting across his face. It was unmistakably Owen. Vivian's expression was rigid, her face pale with terror, pressed against Owen's side, not by choice, but by the grip he had around her shoulders. Ethan's pupils shrank. Owen was the subject of an official manhunt, so what was he doing on a university campus of all places with Vivian in tow? Was this bold confidence or pure recklessness? Could Rex have been Vivian's sponsor all along? That would explain why the security officers had come to her yesterday. Given how ruthless Owen was, Vivian was as good as dead if no one stepped in. Owen was steering Vivian toward the underground parking garage. Ethan's mind raced. Sure, Vivian was materialistic, but that wasn't a crime worth dying for. But he was in no shape to go up against a rank 3 Bewitcher. He quickly fired off a message to Grace. Owen is on campus at Songhai University. He's taken Vivian hostage. Alert the rest of the squad. He's heading into the parking garage. I'm going in first to assess. The message was barely sent before he was already running toward the garage. A life was at stake. There was no time to hesitate. Grace replied almost immediately. Primordial Heavenly Lord, don't do anything reckless. To a Spirit Realm Walker, one ordinary college girl is not worth the life of a night god. But Ethan had already made up his mind. He tapped into the solar spirit within him. A haze of ethereal blue erupted with a burst. His figure vanished. In Nightwander, he sprinted full speed into the underground garage. With the red dancing shoes and Nightwander, Even if he couldn't win, getting away wouldn't be a problem. That made it worth the risk. Vivian might be shallow and materialistic, but she was still a living person. If it was within his power to help, walking away wasn't something he could live with. And someone as unhinged as Owen, the sooner he was dealt with, the better for everyone. He didn't have to worry about muffling his steps. Nightwander concealed all sounds he made, and even suppressed his body heat. Then he heard Vivian's voice, trembling and close to tears. "I don't know where the things you're looking for are. I was with Rex for the money. He paid me $20,000 a month to be his girlfriend. That's all." Owen's eyes were wild and vicious, a blade in his hand. He growled with a manic edge, "Don't tell me you don't know. Don't you dare tell me you don't know. I'm giving you one last chance. Did Rex ever mention anything about the Holy Grail or the roster? I genuinely don't know what you're talking about." Vivian's eyes were red, tears rolling down her face. Owen was silent for a few seconds. A tired exhale echoed through the empty garage. Then his expression twisted into something savage and unhinged. He muttered, half to himself, "Useless. I gave you a chance and you're useless. Gave you a chance and you're useless." The words were barely out before his hand shot to her throat. His thick arm hoisted her off the ground. Vivian's face flushed crimson instantly. Her legs kicked wildly. She tried to scream but couldn't make a sound. Owen grinned, a grotesque kind of pleasure on his face. "Useless. You're useless. If you're useless, then die." He pressed the tip of the blade to Vivian's chest. Just as he was about to drive it into her heart, the Bewitcher's instincts fired. Every hair on his body stood on end. There was no one nearby. Nothing stirred. Nothing seemed out of place. Yet a deep, bone-level chill told him otherwise. Something unpredictable was closing in, wrapping around him. Experienced as he was, Owen immediately recognized it. A spirit realm walker ambush. Still gripping her throat, he hurled her backward on instinct. Vivian hit the ground hard and rolled several meters before going limp. Noticing that the attacker hadn't gone after her, Owen swept his blade in a wide arc around him. "Who's there? Show yourself." The sharp edge carved a gleaming arc through the air. A sharp ring came from the empty space ahead. Sparks burst from thin air. From the feel of blade striking blade, Owen pinpointed his opponent's position. He tensed his legs. He launched himself like a coiled spring, knee driving forward. A dull thud, he felt the solid, satisfying impact through his knee, and heard a muffled grunt from his invisible opponent. A figure flew from the empty air. A young college student in sweatpants and a baseball jacket. It was Ethan. That knee hit had nearly stopped his heart. The gap between them was brutal. He couldn't afford to get himself killed in the middle of trying to save someone else. The moment Ethan became visible, Owen clocked him as a night god and realized this was the same person responsible for tipping off the squad that had nearly killed him the night before. The killing intent that surged in him was instant and personal. Owen launched himself into the air, blade in hand, bearing down savagely on Ethan, who was still rolling to recover. "Let me show you how I'm going to kill you," Ethan nearly shouted. "Sorry, my bad, please don't." He immediately tapped into the solar spirit and activated Nightwander again. Mid-roll, he vanished from Owen's sight. Owen's blade cut through nothing. Owen's eyes swept the garage, searching. "Come out, you coward!" he barked. Meanwhile, Ethan was pressed against a white car in stealth, gasping. That knee hit really almost stopped his heart. What the? A mental-type class hitting like a frontline tank? Owen vaulted onto the hood of a black sedan a few meters away. His sharp gaze swept the garage, his voice dropping to something cold and low. "A Tai Order Night God has no business in Songhai, so you must be with the Five Elements Alliance, and a rank 1 Night God at that, daring to ambush me. Let me think. A rank 1 Night Wander, invisibility can't last more than 20 seconds. How long do you think you can hide?" Owen could peg Ethan's rank with confidence. If he'd been rank 2, Owen wouldn't have landed that hit so cleanly. If he'd been rank 3, Owen would already be running. Ethan nearly choked. 20 seconds? You're giving me way too much credit. I've got maybe 10. He started running through everything he'd read about Bewitchers on the forum. At the Transcendent stage, a Bewitcher had ferocious close-range combat ability. Landing a kill triggered Berserk, pushing their fighting power even higher. On top of that, once combat was initiated, a Bewitcher could mark their target through a special method, and even if the prey escaped, they would never stop hunting. And then there was the core Transcendent stage ability, Bewitch, a mental domination skill. Combined with their raw close-range lethality, it was nearly impossible to counter. Just then, the 10 seconds ran out. His figure began to materialize. Owen spotted him instantly. The air screamed. Ethan's gut clenched. He knew that sound. The attack was already coming. He didn't even look. He dove forward into a roll and vanished again. Owen's kick landed exactly where Ethan had been, and slammed into the white car instead. The door caved in with a deep dent, and the alarm shrieked through the garage. Owen stayed on guard while baiting him with words. "You look like a Songhai University student. You know what it means for a spirit realm walker to have their identity exposed? It means their family pays the price. Now that I know you're a student here, I can take my time tracking you down, kill you, then wipe out everyone close to you." As he spoke, Owen tightened his grip on the blade and counted down silently in his head, waiting for the rookie to flinch and reveal himself so he could strike again. Ethan's stomach dropped. This guy is completely unhinged. He knew it was a provocation, but the threat still hit hard. His instincts are terrifying. If I can't guarantee a one-shot kill, going for another sneak attack isn't worth the risk. But I can't just keep hiding. My body can sustain 2 more Night Wanders at most. After that, I'd have no choice but to run. The squad won't get here in time, but if Owen gets away, Grandma and everyone at home could be in danger. A Bewitcher has 3 abilities: Berserk, Mark, and Bewitch. No kill, no Berserk, that one's off the table for now. I've probably already been marked, but Nightwander should block his tracking sense. The real threats are his close combat power and Bewitch. If only it were nighttime right now. The plan came together in a flash. Time to bring out the red dancing shoes. Let them do the heavy lifting while I play support and wait for my shot. Owen leapt back onto a car roof. From the high ground he surveyed the entire garage. He counted silently, waiting for Ethan to drop out of night wander. Then, an eerie tapping from behind him. The sudden rhythm of footsteps echoed through the hollow space. Even Owen's seasoned nerves snapped to attention. He spun around on instinct, blade raised, ready. Then he saw it. A pair of brand new red dancing shoes, tapping up and down in the empty space 3 meters away, as if worn by someone invisible, marching in place. The sight would have turned any ordinary person's legs to jelly, and ripped a scream from their throat. Owen wasn't sure, was that a supernatural item? Then a message appeared in his vision. Would you like to dance with me? If so, please march in place. Owen didn't flinch. Just a supernatural item. That type was known for its unsettling nature, sure. Annoying to deal with, but weak in raw damage output, and generally repelled by strong yang energy. A drop of blood from the tip of the tongue was enough to suppress a wraith-housing item like this. Besides, there was no way he was stopping to dance with his enemy's shoes in the middle of a fight. With that thought, he bit his tongue and spat a drop of blood onto his gleaming blade. The red dancing shoes tapped in place for a few seconds. When it became clear the human had no intention of dancing, the shoes visibly bristled. A deep crimson glow seeped across them, and with a rapid clatter, they shot straight at Owen. Owen didn't budge, waiting for them to close the distance. When they leapt up to strike, he calmly swung his blade, aiming to land a devastating blow on the wraith housed within. But as the blade passed through the shoes, there was no resistance, no sensation of cutting anything real. The red dancing shoes seemed to exist in a separate layer of reality entirely, untouched by the physical world. Instead, it was Owen who took 2 brutal kicks, one to the chest, one to the face. His face burned. Warm liquid ran from his nose. He was now experiencing exactly what Ethan had felt moments ago, the kind of pain that made your heart stutter and your lungs forget how to work. The Bewitcher was kicked clean off the car roof. The red dancing shoes landed neatly on top of the vehicle. Owen stared, stunned and bewildered. That's not a night god item. That's something from abroad. He couldn't wrap his head around how a rank 1 night god had gotten hold of an item tied to a foreign class. Before he could think it through, the shoes were already coming for him again. He crossed his arms over his chest, 2 heavy thuds, and he was sent flying again. Owen dove, sprinted, rolled, used the parked cars as cover, weaving and twisting through the wide garage in every direction he could. He dodged most of the stomps, but still took several solid hits. Each impact sent waves of agony through him. The wounds from the previous night's battle flared up, and blood seeped from his internal organs. Ethan, the utterly useless owner, stood watching the red dancing shoes fight. His jaw was on the floor. Once again, he was struck by just how terrifying a rule-based item could be. This thing was absolutely broken. Its pursuit couldn't be blocked or interrupted. The target had no choice but to endure it. The only way to break the rule was to dance, and that simply wasn't going to happen. Even if Owen swallowed his pride and started tap dancing, Ethan would step in and throw him off, and one wrong step reset everything. Still, a Bewitcher really was something else. The fact that he was still standing after taking that punishment was genuinely impressive. His physical durability was terrifying, but once he figured out he had no way to fight back, he'd run. Ethan knew exactly what he had to do. Strike before Owen bolted. He didn't need to finish him, he just needed to keep this killer from getting away. Right then, Owen failed to dodge in time and took 2 kicks square in the face. The impact sent him stumbling, backward, his vision going dark for a moment. Ethan knew his opening had arrived. He burst forward like a leopard, the demon-subduing pestle gripped tight in his hand. He arced around in a wide curve coming up behind Owen. He drove the pestle hard toward Owen's back. This hit was going to land. It was almost there, and then a dense, fog-like barrier appeared from nowhere, stopping the pestle's 3-edged tip cold. Owen let out a quiet, knowing laugh. You got careless, night god. In his left hand, he held a bronze medallion, and the barrier had come from that. It was engraved with ancient markings, now covered in cracks, the kind of wear that came from years on the battlefield. It was Rex's defensive item. Ethan stumbled but kept moving, circling rapidly around Owen. He hammered the demon-subduing pestle against the white barrier again and again. Each strike sent ripples of light spreading outward. Finally, under the relentless barrage from both the pestle and the red dancing shoes, the bronze medallion's energy drained completely. A sharp crack rang out. The medallion shattered into pieces, the white light dissolving into scattered sparks. At that exact moment, Ethan's night wander ran out. His body began to reappear. This was exactly the moment Owen had been waiting for. His eyes flooded with crimson. Twisted, malevolent runes surfaced across them. Bewitch. Ethan's mind went blank. His ability to think collapsed entirely. He almost forgot he was in a fight. A voice echoed through his head over and over. Drop your weapon, don't resist. Drop your weapon, don't resist. Owen laughed, loud and ugly. You know why I kept taking hits from those shoes instead of using the medallion sooner? I was waiting for you to come to me. Young night gods, no patience, no experience. And sure enough, you took the bait. Rex's item was already half broken. If I'd used it early, it would have lasted only a moment before shattering. Better to take the pain, leave an opening, and let you walk right into it. As he spoke, he drew the blade toward Ethan's throat, but the red dancing shoes, which had been relentlessly hunting Owen, suddenly appeared on Ethan's own feet. Ethan's body buckled and dropped. The blade swept past, barely grazing his scalp. Owen cut through air. The red dancing shoes had forced him into a full split, saving him from having his throat cut. The very particular agony that followed snapped him straight out of the bewitch in an instant. Ethan pushed off the ground and launched himself bodily into Owen. Owen hadn't seen it coming at all. How had a rank 1 night god broken free of bewitch? He was still mid-swing, no time to pull back. All he could do was watch helplessly as the brass pestle drove into his chest. Flesh tore. The tip of the demon-subduing pestle erupted with a brilliant golden light that burned through the vitality in his chest. A series of agonized screams tore out of him. His vision went dark. The pain nearly knocked him out. But Owen was a battle-hardened bewitcher. Even at death's door, he found another gear. He yanked his right arm back, dragging the blade toward Ethan's throat. Ethan threw his head back sharply, and the blade missed his throat by a hair. At the same time, Owen tightened his left arm, snapping the elbow joint to load his fist like a coiled battering ram. It slammed into Ethan's shoulder before he could get out of the way. He was sent flying like a burst sandbag and crashed hard into a van, cracking the window from the impact. He hadn't even hit the ground yet when he activated Nightwander again and vanished from Owen's sight. Owen didn't give chase. He staggered toward Vivian instead. His heart had been destroyed. He needed to kill. Fresh blood from a living person. He needed a kill to trigger Berserk, and then tear out of the garage, rampage through the campus, using the Bewitcher's bloodthirsty nature to restore his wounds and claw his way back from the edge of death. The consequences, his morality score dropping below 60, being placed on the spirit realm's most wanted list, hunted by every walker in the city. He couldn't afford to think about that right now. Then came the sound again, that rhythmic tap tap tap. 2 faint crimson glows materialized from nothing. A brand new pair of red dancing shoes took shape and came straight for him, but to Owen in that moment, the sound wasn't tapping, it was a death knell, a reaper's sigh, a judge's final verdict. He had nothing left to dodge with. With a sickening crack, the red dancing shoes came down on his face. His features were reduced to a bloody ruin. He fell backward, no longer in control of his own body, but in that final instant, Owen hurled his blade. The 40-centimeter weapon became a streak of silver and shot toward Vivian across the garage. If it hit her, there was still a chance. Owen's eyes locked onto the blade. Then sparks burst from the air. A brass pestle reached out from nowhere and knocked the blade off course. Ethan materialized slowly beside Vivian. "You lose." At those words, the last flicker of hope in Owen's eyes collapsed into despair and bitter resignation. Then the red dancing shoes came down from above and stamped on his face, caving in his nose, splitting his lips, and driving both eyes from their sockets. Owen's limbs convulsed a few times. Then he went still. Ethan dropped to the ground beside Vivian and let out a long, shaky breath, completely drained. His chest was still churning with adrenaline, his hands and legs trembling uncontrollably. Finally, that took way too much out of me. Against a bewitcher like Owen, the one thing that absolutely had to be avoided was bewitch. So before going in, he had already made an offering to the demon-subduing pestle. One of its functions was purification, and the red dancing shoe's second form was what gave him the confidence to fight at close range. Dodging the throat slash, dealing with Mark, Bewitch, Berserk, and close combat, he had mapped out every one of Owen's abilities ahead of time. If he still couldn't win after all that, he might as well quit. Then the spirit realm notification chimed in his ear. "You have eliminated a rank 3 bewitcher. Gained 30 morality points, 15 reputation points. Reputation system unlocked." Ethan blinked. Killing an enemy faction spirit realm walker earned reputation, but what did that actually do? He filed it away and decided to look it up on the forum later. The reputation could wait. What interested him more right now was the loot. He got up and walked over to Owen's body. He kicked the eyeballs under a nearby car. Then, fighting down his revulsion, he went through the body carefully. All he found was a phone and a wallet. The phone was one of those old basic models that could barely do anything beyond calls. He opened the wallet. A stack of 100 yuan bills. He counted carefully, then clicked his tongue. "You're a wanted criminal and you're only carrying 1,500 yuan? Seriously?" Confiscated. He pulled out the cash and stuffed it into his own pocket. He picked up the blade. The moment his hand made contact, a description appeared in his vision. Name: Bloodthirsty Blade. Functions: bleed, lifesteal, armor break. A powerful bewitcher fed this blade with their own blood over time, and it became deeply bloodthirsty as a result. Its edge can cut through hardened steel. Wounds it inflicts are nearly impossible to heal. It drains the vital blood of its prey and channels it back to its master, making them stronger. Note: a blade that doesn't want to cut its own master isn't much of a blade. Good thing he'd had the sense to stay close to Vivian. If the blade had actually hit her, Owen would have gotten that lifesteal, and that would have been a mess. But this was a cost-based item. Judging by how Owen had used it, it probably needed to be fed blood. The demon-subduing pestle was already draining him. Piling on the bloodthirsty blade too would be unsustainable. He'd leave it unbound for now. The red dancing shoes tapped their way over to him. As they rose and fell, a message appeared. "Would you like to dance with me? If so, please march in place. Note: each use of this item requires 1 dance in return. If you refuse, the red dancing shoes will no longer favor you and will turn on you." Ethan smiled and said cheerfully, "It would be my pleasure." Inside, he was screaming. What a scam. He'd never imagined that using it in the real world would come with this kind of price. Absolutely brutal. The entrance to the garage was quickly filling with people. A murder on a university campus was not a small matter. Inside, paramedics were loading Vivian onto a stretcher to take her to the hospital. Leo and Grace stared at the headless remains on the floor with expressions of pure disbelief. "You actually did this?" Ethan hooked his thumbs into his shoulders and nodded with obvious satisfaction. The two exchanged a stunned look. Leo murmured to himself, "I can't believe it. A rank 1 night god took down a bewitcher like Owen. My god, Ethan, You did well, seriously well. Come back with us and take a look at Owen's memories. Grace shook her head. No, he can't. Owen was corrupted by dark power. We don't know whether his spirit was affected too. On top of that, a bewitcher spirit carries intense negative energy from all that bloodlust and brutality. That's not something he should be absorbing. Vincent is coming back to Songhai this afternoon. Just let him handle it. Ethan patted his chest. I'll be fine. Grace caught it immediately. He knows what reading a spirit does to you, so why is he pushing for it? There's something he's not saying. Her expression shifted to something more contemplative. Ethan felt her eyes on him and started to squirm internally. Come on, don't just keep staring at me like that. Leo waved a hand. That's not an issue. I'll take care of the purification. Owen's memories are important. The sooner we do the reading, the better. We have no way of knowing how much a corrupted spirit will retain over time. He turned to Ethan again. You sure you're good? Ethan said he was fine without hesitation. He was wary of the side effects, but if another night God read Owen's memories instead, the red dancing shoes would definitely come to light. Keeping a low profile was still the priority, but Grace had clearly picked up on something. Leo turned to go. We'll move the body first. Everyone else stays and assists the security officers with the scene. Ethan, ride back to the office with Grace. Get a report filed. Grace glanced over at Ethan with a knowing look in her eyes. Now that the squad leaders cleared everyone out, come on, I'll take you to wipe the security footage. Ethan kept his eyes fixed, straight ahead and said nothing, so she really had figured something out. Grace knows me too well. Leo drove the Rolls-Royce away in high spirits. He sent a voice message to the squad leaders group chat, dripping with fake modesty. Oh my, looks like we accidentally went ahead and finished everyone's work for them. My apologies, everyone. Terribly inconsiderate of me not to leave any credit on the table. Bonuses come in, dinner's on me, no need to be jealous, it was all just luck. This kid had cleared Yuling Tunnel by luck, taken out Owen by luck. Nothing impressive at all, right? Bulk grumbled in his low, gruff voice. Leo, the way you talk really makes me want to punch you. Leo laughed. Bulk, try to be a little more refined. Stop being so hot-headed all the time. All right, let me go report to Centurion Fu first. He then dialed Centurion Fu's number. Owen had been eliminated, and as a subordinate, Leo knew he had to report in promptly. Primordial had really made him proud. The line rang for a long time before the other end picked up. The voice on the other side was crisp and articulate, but cold. I'm reviewing Owen's file right now, mapping out his movements. You have 10 seconds. Leo cleared his throat and reported in a low, serious tone. Centurion Fu, we've taken down Owen. The answer clearly caught the other person off guard. The line went silent for a few seconds. Marcus picked up the phone again, his tone no longer cold. Where did you find him? Leo replied. We took him down at Songhai University. He was trying to force Vivian into revealing the location of the Holy Grail and the roster, but Vivian had no idea. She's just an ordinary student. Your assessment was correct. Owen had completely lost his mind. Marcus commended him. Well done, Leo. You handled this sharply. You stopped what could have been a large-scale bloodbath. I'll put in a commendation to the Elder Council for you. Any casualties? None, Leo said, then paused. Though we weren't the ones who killed him. Marcus sounded puzzled. You didn't kill him? Then he seemed to realize something. Almost forgot. There's a Water God Palace elder stationed at Songhai University. I suppose it was that elder who stepped in. I'll have to pay a visit and offer my thanks. Leo looked stunned. There's an elder at Songhai University? He quickly realized Marcus had misunderstood and corrected himself. The one who took down Owen was Primordial Heavenly Lord, the Night God recruit I brought in. A level 1 Night God took out a level 3 Bewitcher? Marcus's tone carried a hint of amusement. Understood. Have him write up a report and submit it. After Ethan agreed to read the Bewitcher's memories, they quickly made their way to the Kangyang District Public Security Bureau. Outside the morgue, a group of Spirit Realm Walker squad leaders waited anxiously. Leo stared at the body of the Bewitcher, lying under a white sheet, his expression serious. When a Night God absorbs a spirit body, it gains experience. The downside is that over time, the mind becomes corrupted. He glanced over at Ethan. If you've already tried gaining strength this way, you should know what I mean. Ethan nodded. Leo pressed on. Have you tried using that item to cleanse the mental corruption? Seeing Ethan furrow his brow without answering, Leo broke into a smile. So the cost of that item isn't exactly cheap, is it? Ethan gave a helpless shrug. Yeah, use it too much and you start feeling drained, weak blood, low energy. As he spoke, he reached into his pocket because it suddenly occurred to Ethan that he had once found a spirit crystal inside the mouth of the mountain goddess. Thinking it through now, the crystal had likely formed from the condensed soul of a spirit realm walker who died inside the temple. That would explain why the description called it the finest supplement for a night god. The impurities within the spirit crystal must be the mental corruption, and the goddess had already purified it. So the demon-subduing pestle should be capable of cleansing mental corruption as well. He handed Leo the pestle, a brass-cast instrument engraved with elaborate patterns and incantations. If I lose control, just jab me with this, in the thigh. Got it, Leo said, taking the item. With everything settled, Ethan walked over to Owen's body, raised his palm toward the corpse's chest, and sent a pale blue orb of energy flowing out from his hand. A powerful pull began drawing out the remnant spirit body from inside the corpse. Owen's severed head had already been retrieved. Most of the memories stored in a spirit body were concentrated there. A throbbing pressure built between Ethan's brows. His consciousness expanded suddenly, and something foreign surged into his mind with force. In a haze, Ethan found himself back in the underground parking garage. He saw the eerie red dancing shoes. This was the battle that had just taken place in the garage. After the fight ended, The scene shifted rapidly. This time it was a lavish room. Standing before Owen was a masked man, holding an exquisitely crafted crystal goblet filled with a liquid as red as blood. The masked man spoke coolly. "As a bewitcher, your evil is pure and your potential is real. Drink from the Holy Grail and you become my servant. Every 2 weeks you must drink from it again, miss a dosage, and nothing in this world can save you. Remember my name, Ghost-Eyed Judge." Ethan burned the name Ghost-Eyed Judge into his memory. The scene shifted again. Inside a dingy rental apartment, a man in a baseball cap stood in the living room and spoke coldly. "Ghost-Eyed Judge is dead. His right-hand man, Black Impermanence, fled with the fallen Holy Grail in the roster and is hiding somewhere in Songhai City. If you don't want the poison to kill you, find him for us. The Spirit Energy Society will make it worth your while." The Spirit Energy Society? Ethan had never heard of that organization. The memory shifted again. He watched a group of students in school uniforms raining punches and kicks on him. "No money again? Owen, are you seriously ignoring us? If your parents won't give you money, why don't you just steal it, you useless piece of trash? Owen, you better appreciate when we're still being civil with you." It was hard to believe that someone so ruthless had gone through something like this as a student. Ethan realized he was experiencing a moment of severe bullying. Please stop, please stop. He felt Owen's overwhelming fear curling up in terror. They were all just teenagers. Yet their cruelty was so absolute. "Getting pushed around again, are you? Hit them back. Why are you crying to me? How did I end up with a son like you?" A middle-aged man hurled insults with spittle flying from his mouth. Through Owen's emotions, Ethan felt nothing but despair. Scattered, broken images flashed by in rapid succession, beating after beating, humiliation after humiliation, until at last his mind grew more and more warped, more and more violent. Then suddenly, a brilliant and righteous light broke through into his consciousness, scattering the violence and pain and bringing warmth. Ethan gasped and snapped his eyes open to see Leo standing over him, suit disheveled, face bruised and swollen. "Squad leader, are you all right?" Ethan quietly wiped the tears from his face. Leo casually tossed the blood-stained demon-subduing pestle on the floor and straightened his clothes, grumbling. "I'm fine. I should have brought Grace. Her combat skills are better than mine. This was anything but elegant." "So? Did you find any useful leads?" "You don't look well," Ethan said quietly. "I'm just feeling a little down." Leo raised an eyebrow. "Because of Owen's memories?" Ethan nodded. "I never expected his student years to be that rough. Getting beaten every day, I think that's probably where it all started to go wrong for him." Leo offered him a lesson. "Primordial, spirit realm walkers and evil classes are selected by the realm from specific kinds of people." Ethan paused. "So they didn't become bad people because of their evil class. They were already bad people to begin with." Leo gave Ethan a reassuring pat on the shoulder. "Of course, no one is born evil. People are shaped by what's done to them. But let's get to business. No point wasting time." Ethan pulled himself together and spoke in a measured tone. "Squad leader, I think I saw something major inside Owen's memories." Leo waved it off. "He was a level 3 bewitcher. How big could it really be? I've been in this line of work for years. There's not much I haven't seen. Go ahead." Ethan walked him through everything he had read from the memories. "Yes, Ghost-Eyed Judge, I heard it very clearly." A few minutes later, Leo came sprinting out of the morgue and bellowed at the squad leaders waiting outside. "We've got a serious situation," Marcus Fu began to explain. "As you all know, the Spirit Energy Society is a notorious criminal organization among spirit realm walkers, made up of powerful and fanatical sorcerers. Ghost-Eyed Judge, the vice president of their Eastern chapter, held the 8th position on the 5 Elements Alliance's most wanted list. The Fallen Holy Grail is a high-tier rule-based item exclusive to sorcerers. Its function is to control other spirit realm walkers. Ghost-Eyed Judge used it to enslave walkers from all kinds of other classes. A large portion of the corrupted individuals we deal with every year were created by him. Once contaminated by the Fallen Holy Grail, a person is enslaved for life. The only way to break free is for Ghost-Eyed Judge himself to die. On top of that, those contaminated must receive another dose from the Holy Grail at regular intervals, otherwise they lose their minds and die." Leo picked up the thread. "So Owen was Ghost-Eyed Judge's servant?" Marcus nodded. The 5 Elements Alliance squad leaders, Ivy, Drake, Grant, and Bulk, along with Vincent, were all attending the meeting online. Marcus continued in a grave tone. "Not long ago, Ghost-Eyed Judge suddenly fell. His right-hand man, Black Impermanence, vanished with the Holy Grail in the roster, a record containing the identities of all corrupted individuals. It's not just corrupted individuals like Owen who are searching for Black Impermanence. The other vice president of the Eastern chapter, the Hex Lord, is looking for him too. Whoever holds the roster can contact the corrupted and inherit Ghost-Eyed Judge's legacy. Rex is a key undercover agent who may have already made contact with Black Impermanence. Owen was trying to use Rex to track him down. The roster contains a large number of corrupted individuals. With the roster and the Holy Grail in hand, Black Impermanence can't possibly take control of all of them at once. There are many more unstable fanatics out there like Owen. Black Impermanence is in Songhai. This city is no longer safe. I will report to the elders immediately and notify our colleagues across all regions to prepare for corrupted individuals going out of control. Effective today, all leave is cancelled. Phones on at all times, stay ready to move. I also need to address everyone on this team. You were complacent, careless, and showed a serious lack of vigilance." His expression then softened. "That said, in the Owen incident, Primordial Heavenly Lord made a decisive contribution. From taking down Owen to performing the spirit reading that uncovered Ghost-Eyed Judge's death, he drove the entire investigation. A group of veterans being outperformed by a newcomer is something I, as your superior find deeply embarrassing. Meeting adjourned. The squad leaders logged off the online meeting without a word, partly because the information they had just received was a lot to process, and partly because they knew they had played no real role in resolving the Owen situation. But Vincent had not logged off. Leo asked, "Vincent, is there something else?" Vincent explained, "The Grand Master called us to the capital and announced a classified piece of information. The Demon Lord is dead." Marcus's face went pale with shock. Not even the news of Ghost-Eyed Judge's death had shaken him this visibly. Vincent continued, "The Grand Master has given us the task of finding the Demon Lord's successor. Every new night god who has awakened from 2 months ago through the end of this year is a person of interest." Marcus frowned. "Even if someone lucky enough to receive the Demon Lord's roll card, it has nothing to do with the Demon Lord himself. Why does your Grand Master want to find this person? Don't tell me it's just out of appreciation for talent." When a spirit realm walker dies, the realm wipes all data from that roll card and assigns it to a new owner. But when a high-level walker falls, the card isn't fully wiped. Something gets left behind, a bonus, an access privilege, something. Roll cards like that are inherently superior to ordinary ones. Vincent gave a helpless shrug. "I honestly don't know. I just follow orders. Only 4 new night gods awakened in Songhai this year. 1 died in the spirit realm, 2 were sent to training camp after joining the Tai Order, and the last one is Primordial Heavenly Lord." At that very moment, Primordial Heavenly Lord was sitting at his computer, having just finished writing his report, from which he had, of course, omitted any mention of the red dancing shoes. He turned to Grace and asked, "When will the rewards for clearing the Yuling Tunnel and completing this mission come through? Your merit points need Elder Council approval. Same goes for any financial transfers. It'll probably come with next month's pay." Ethan nodded. "That works. By the way, squad leader just rushed out yelling that something happened and then he disappeared. What's going on?" Grace smiled casually. "He's probably in a meeting with Marcus and the other squad leaders discussing whatever this big thing is." Ethan had no interest in the affairs of those higher up the chain. He stretched and yawned. "I'm going to call it a day. It's about time for dinner." Meanwhile, somewhere in a dim bedroom in Songhai, 3 lit candles were arranged in a triangle on the floor. A figure wearing a silver mask knelt beside a table. On the table sat a red lacquered box, its lid carved with a strange relief of an insect. The masked figure drew a dagger across the tip of a finger, and dark red blood began to seep out. The blood was dripped onto the insect carving. The insect immediately spread its wings, its body splitting open down the center. A sudden gust rose. The candle flames turned crimson and shot upward, forming a swirling vortex of blood-red fire above the wooden box. From within the vortex came a cold, commanding voice. "What is it? I have set the bait as you instructed. The 5 Elements Alliance will stop at nothing to hunt down Black Impermanence. However, I cannot guarantee that Black Impermanence will stay hidden in Songhai," the commanding voice replied, coolly. "My divination places Black Impermanence in Songhai. There is a reason he is hiding here, though the specifics remain to be confirmed. What else do you need of me? Shadow the 5 Elements Alliance's search for Black Impermanence. Report to me the moment you learn anything. I will be in the spirit realm for a time and may not be reachable immediately. I am searching for the site of Ghost-Eyed Judge's death. As it happens, I cross paths with someone from the Tai Order. Ghost-Eyed Judge's death clearly runs deeper than it appears." The voice faded. The blood-red vortex of flame died out. After returning home, Ethan headed straight to the dining room. "Grandma, I'm back." His cousin Victor looked up curiously. "I heard something happened at your school today." Ethan played dumb. "Huh? No idea. I was in the library studying all day. What happened?" "A kidnapping. Someone died." Ethan feigned surprise. "That's terrifying," he thought quietly to himself. "I was the one who killed him." Ethan asked his grandmother, "Where's Auntie Jade?" His grandmother replied, "She should be back any time now." Right on cue, the security door beeped and the handle turned. Auntie Jade pushed open the door looking completely exhausted. "Mom, I'm dead tired. Can you dish up my food? You've got perfectly good arms and legs," Grandma grumbled, but she got up and headed to the kitchen anyway. The moment Ethan's eyes landed on Auntie's lower leg, his expression froze. Clinging to it was a chubby little infant. The infant was about 8 inches tall, its body not quite solid, eyes closed and completely still, as if it were asleep. This completely shattered Ethan's expectations. The hospital where Auntie worked really was haunted, and by an infant spirit no less. Auntie noticed Ethan staring at her with a strange look and shot him a glare. "What are you looking at?" "Just looking," he thought. "Is this thing trying to possess her?" Auntie picked up a slice of roast duck. She took a big bite. After chewing for a moment, she frowned. "Mom, did you forget to salt this? The duck has no flavor. I bought it from outside," Grandma replied flatly. Auntie took a long sniff. "I can't smell anything at all. None of the food smells good." Grandma looked up with concern. "Are you coming down with a cold?" But from Ethan's perspective, he watched the infant spirit climb up along Auntie's body and pull itself onto her shoulder. Then it spotted the table full of food. It leaned over the edge of the table and stretched out its chubby little hands, trying to grab the food, but nothing came. After several failed attempts, it finally seemed to realize it could not touch anything. It broke into a miserable wail, and Ethan immediately heard a faint, ghostly crying in his ears. "This little brat is so loud," he thought. He drew on his solar spirit energy, concentrating it in his palm. He stood, grabbed the infant spirit in his hand and announced, "You guys go ahead and eat. I need to use the bathroom." He carried the infant spirit by the scruff of its neck, like picking up a puppy, and walked into the bathroom. Behind him, Auntie's voice called out, "My nose just cleared up. The duck actually smells good now." Once inside the bathroom, Ethan found the infant spirit quietly licking at the solar spirit energy pooled in his palm. The solar spirit energy of a night god was essentially a supreme tonic for any spirit body. It followed Auntie home because she picked up my scent. For spirit bodies, that kind of pull is irresistible. Ethan pulled out his phone and logged onto the Five Elements Alliance official forum to look up information on spirit bodies. Spirit bodies were formed from the residual mental energy left behind after the death of a sentient being. They existed in a dulled state, driven entirely by instinct, or perhaps more accurately, by obsession. According to one post, a night god at higher levels could cultivate spirit servants and command the undead, and in combat with other spirit realm walkers, could switch between a sneaky assassin and sneaky summoner playstyle. It seemed this infant was a particularly rare and valuable spirit servant. I've struck gold. It's already developed a special ability that makes it a genuine spirit servant, not just an unusual spirit body. Something is definitely wrong at the hospital where Auntie works. If a spirit servant this special can be bound to me, then why not? Little one, form a contract with me. I promise you'll never run out of solar spirit energy. He channeled his solar spirit energy. A thick, viscous dark light surged up from the depths of his eyes, gradually overtaking both iris and white until his entire eye sockets were filled with blackness. He opened his mouth and inhaled, drawing the infant spirit into his body. Ethan successfully formed a contract with the infant spirit. It could now be stored within his body. Its core ability was exchange, swapping one of its own sensory or physiological functions with that of a target. The master could also transfer or distribute negative effects, damage, debuffs, and so on, to the spirit servant. From now on, I'll call you little dumbass. The next morning at the Public Security Bureau, Ethan had barely sat down at his desk when Leo pushed the door open. "A night god from the Tai Order wants to speak with you. Come with me." Ethan was puzzled. What does the Tai Order want with me? Are they trying to recruit me? If that's the case, they'd usually approach me privately. He followed Leo to the conference room. "Captain Vincent, our star recruit is here." Ethan quietly peeked inside. After they stepped inside, Leo made the introductions. "Vincent, Tai Order squad captain stationed in Kangyang District, level 3 night god, elite of the elites among official walkers." Vincent looked Ethan over and shook his head in admiration. "Just as impressive as I imagined. Elder Son really dropped the ball." Ethan put on a warm and eager smile. "The moment I saw Captain Vincent, I felt like I was looking at family. There's just this unexplainable sense of connection. Is this the bond night gods share?" Vincent blinked. Night gods don't actually share that kind of bond. Ethan acted as if he'd just figured it out. "Ah, so it's Captain Vincent himself who gives me that feeling. That's just his natural charisma." Vincent broke into a smile. "This kid really knows how to talk." Then came another sigh of regret. Elder Son really dropped the ball. Seeing the two of them already getting along so well, Leo cleared his throat pointedly. "Captain Vincent is here on official business." After taking his seat, Ethan probed with a lighthearted jab. "So what brings you to me, Captain Vincent? Just to be clear up front, I'm very happy in Squad 2. I'm not looking to change teams. You cleared the Yuling Tunnel. Centurion Fu thinks very highly of you. I couldn't poach you even if I tried. You may not know this, but when Centurion Fu requested that strategy guide on your behalf, our elder son at the Tai Order didn't think you stood a chance of clearing it, so he passed on recruiting you. It's too late to regret it now. Quite a few people in the Order have had things to say about it. They feel you have real potential, perhaps even Saint stage material one day. Anyway, I've said too much. I tend to talk a lot. I hope you don't mind. Do you smoke? Not really. Neither did I at your age. Not until I became a night god and a trial mission left me with some serious psychological damage. That's when the habit started. It's not exactly a healthy habit, but it does take the edge off. Every night god develops some kind of quirk. We are currently searching for whoever received the Demon Lord's inheritance. Every new night god who awakened this year is a person of interest in our investigation. That includes you. The Demon Lord was a high-level spirit realm walker's identity. Ethan looked genuinely puzzled. I'm not sure I follow. According to official analysis, the spirit realm doesn't issue roll cards without limit. There's a cap. So when a spirit realm walker dies, everything is reclaimed by the realm, including the roll card. But when a high-level walker dies, the wipe is never complete. The roll card retains certain special elements before being passed on to a new recipient. We call this phenomenon inheritance. Ethan nodded with understanding. Can I ask who the Demon Lord was exactly, and what the Tai Order's reason is for searching for his successor? Vincent was straightforward. I genuinely don't know why the higher-ups want to find the Demon Lord's successor. At my level, you follow orders and don't ask too many questions. As for the Demon Lord, Vincent's expression shifted, showing a rare flash of genuine fear. He was a fallen night god, the sworn enemy of the Tai Order. Many official spirit realm walkers died at his hands, even our elders feared him, and he once threw the entire official faction into a state of panic. The Grand Master once said he was the most capable and the most terrifying night god of the past 30 years. Ethan thought to himself, whether he was terrifying or not, I have no idea, but he definitely sounds like a drama king. Ethan continued, so how do you identify the Demon Lord's successor? And what exactly do you need from me? It sounds like the successor has nothing to do with the Demon Lord personally. The Tai Order is a legitimate organization. Surely you wouldn't go after an innocent person just by association. The Demon Lord's successor has two distinguishing marks. First, the roll card bears a full moon instead of a crescent. Second, When clearing a dungeon, the successor receives an additional exclusive role card reward that ordinary night gods do not. Ethan kept his face completely neutral, but inside, his mind was in chaos. No way. The role card Rex sent me, it belonged to the Demon Lord. Why did Rex have it? What was his connection to the Demon Lord? So the exclusive role card reward I got from the Red Dancing Shoes dungeon, that came from the Demon Lord's inheritance. Thank God I kept that part out of my report. He quickly steadied himself and managed a look of mild disappointment. Looks like I'm not the Demon Lord's successor after all. I always thought I might be someone special. I did clear the Yuling tunnel after all. How am I supposed to show you my mark? It doesn't exactly respond to commands. Low-level walkers can't control their marks. That kind of stylistic display is a privilege reserved for higher levels. I don't need to see your mark anyway. All I need to do is detect a lie. He picked up a command token from the penholder. This command token is an item I borrowed from Centurion Fu. Its ability compels obedience and makes it impossible to lie, the cost being that I cannot lie either while using it. Ethan did his best to hold on to his calm smile, but no words could adequately describe what he was feeling at that moment. Vincent cut the small talk. He raised the command token and directed it at Ethan from across the table. I will now ask you, he said in a low voice, is your night god mark a crescent or a full moon? Ethan immediately felt an immense invisible force settle over him, something that stirred a deep, instinctive reverence from within. The urge to comply was involuntary. He did not want to hide anything. He felt the almost overwhelming impulse to confess every secret he had. His mind tensed beyond his control, and a wave of numbness spread across his scalp. What is the Tai Order's real reason for finding the Demon Lord's successor, if it's just to recruit talent? They wouldn't be this vague about it. Something is off. I cannot tell the truth. The role card came from Rex. This might involve him somehow. Then it hit him. The infant spirit he had just contracted. The master could transfer damage and negative effects to the spirit servant. The command token's power was overwhelming, but it caused no real physical harm. Little dumbass should be fine. Worth a try. With that thought, Ethan woke the soundly sleeping infant spirit. Little dumbass, wake up. Time to work. Their souls briefly linked together. The immense commanding force flowed through Ethan's spirit and poured into the infant spirit's body. The sleeping infant spirit gave a sudden kick with both legs, as if jolted by a nightmare. Ethan felt the pressure lift from his mind. The awe and fear dissolved. He answered calmly, Crescent. Vincent kept the command token raised and continued. Have you received an exclusive role card reward? No. Vincent sighed and lowered the command token. You've cleared the screening. I'll report the results to the organization. The Tai Order takes the Demon Lord's successor very seriously. There may be further screenings down the line. Also, if you come across a night god matching either of those two traits, make sure to inform me. The Tai Order will reward you well. Ethan put his hand to his chest. The moment I find anyone like that, you'll be the first to know. Internally, he thought, no amount of money would make me report myself. Vincent gave a satisfied nod. Honestly, being the Demon Lord's successor isn't necessarily a good thing. The spirit realm has a balancing system. Walkers with exceptional abilities tend to get assigned to more difficult missions. Reward and risk always come in proportion. Ethan smiled. Understood. Clearing the Yuling tunnel really had put him in serious danger. Vincent returned the command token to the penholder and extended his phone. Add me as a contact if you don't mind. Night gods are rare in the Five Elements Alliance. There's no one around to teach you the ins and outs of the class. If you ever have questions, feel free to ask me. Ethan gladly scanned the QR code. You're such a genuinely good person. Vincent pocketed his phone with a grin. I do charge a consultation fee. Ethan's expression went blank. Vincent continued. By the way, it's been almost a week since you became a night god, right? Based on past experience, newly awakened night gods will most likely enter a multiplayer combat realm within the next 1 to 2 weeks. Ethan thought, so I could be called up within a week? Ethan asked with a mix of nervousness and anticipation. How much does that piece of intel cost? Vincent smiled. That one's free. Ethan immediately followed up. Then I have more questions for Captain Vincent. Free of charge? Depends on whether the question is worth anything. Is there a skill called Day God Power in a night god's later abilities? Yes, though I'm not sure exactly which level. That's enough for me. Sun and moon, light and dark, all in one. That's pretty cool. No more questions. Thank you for the guidance, Captain Vincent. Leo, who had been standing to the side, said flatly, Congratulations on passing the Tai Order screening. Looks like you've still got something on your mind. A scout lives up to his name. You caught that immediately. Skip the flattery. Say what you need to say. Ethan took the opportunity. I'd like to ask a favor, squad leader. Can you check with the contacts over in Jiangnan province? I want to know how the Rex Lay case is progressing. Also, I need everything you can get on his movements and social connections during his university years. The more detailed, the better. Leo thought for a moment and nodded. All right, I'll reach out to the colleagues over there, but it'll take time. With that settled, Ethan's expression turned serious. There's something else I need to report. The hospital where Auntie works is haunted. She accidentally brought an infant spirit home yesterday. I suspect a spirit realm walker has been conducting experiments on forging spirit servants inside the hospital, most likely a night god. The though I don't know yet if they're independent or affiliated. Leo's expression darkened, and he shot back furiously. My God, whoever this is deserves to rot. I will make sure they pay for what they've done, I swear it. Squad leader, I've already laid the spirit to rest and retrieved the target's image from its memories. I'd like to request permission to handle this mission independently. Consider it training. Leo shook his head without hesitation. Good initiative, but experience comes with mistakes, and one mistake out there could mean death. I'm sending Grace with you this time. Her hand-to-hand combat and shooting are better than mine. Understood, squad leader. Ethan had everything mapped out. He needed to take the lead on the infant spirit case in order to keep little dumbass's existence hidden. But anything involving other spirit realm walkers had to be handled with care, so he needed an experienced partner. He had figured that when he asked to handle things independently, Leo would most likely step back and send Grace as a compromise. Pingtai Hospital, Kangyang District. A black sedan pulled into the entrance. After they got out, Grace couldn't resist a jab. Been seeing double on your phone or computer screen lately? Ethan, who had been mentally working through how to flush out the target, snapped back to attention. Why would you ask that? Grace blinked her large expressive eyes. Your expression says it all. No self-control lately. Ethan was used to her by now, so he redirected. Squad leader told me to work with you. What's the plan? First, identify the target, then investigate their real-world identity. You've seen their face, so identification shouldn't be hard. Then we make contact. If they're not too strong, we bring them in directly. If they are, we call the squad leader for a forced extraction. Right now, we don't know if they have accomplices or how large the spirit servant operation is, so we hold back for now and do a full sweep of the hospital. Start with the haunting rumors. Pin down when it started, and whether there are other incidents. Pull the termination and miscarriage records from that period, looking for male fetuses at a significant gestation. That narrows the pool considerably and lets us identify the infant spirit. Infants have fragile spiritual energy. Once they die, they fade quickly. Anyone who had contact with expectant mothers during that window is a person of interest. If the person you saw during the spirit reading turns up in the results, we move in. If not, it means there's an accomplice. Ethan listened with growing amazement. Clear, sharp, methodical. This was what a scout was. Grace turned to him. Did none of this cross your mind? I've got you for all that, Grace. Why would I need to think about it? You really are something else. Ethan suggested. Auntie works here, so I'd rather not show up in the OBGYN department myself. Let's split up. I'll handle the spirit body side of the investigation, and you cover the OBGYN wing. Both put on face masks and baseball caps, then split up in the main lobby and went their separate ways. Grace took the stairs all the way to the 4th floor. At the entrance to one of the rooms, her eyes lit up. A female doctor in a pink coat stood there, with a soft oval face and fair, smooth skin, large, bright eyes, wavy hair flowing down her back. It was Ethan's auntie. Grace walked straight up to her. Excuse me, doctor, I've been thinking about trying for a baby soon. Could you tell me what I should keep in mind? There's quite a bit to go over. Follow me, let's have a chat. On the other side of the hospital, Ethan found a quiet corridor and summoned little dumbass. The plump little infant stared up at him with wide, innocent eyes. Ethan sent at the thought of roaming freely and going to play. The plan was to use little dumbass as bait. Whoever was behind this would come looking the moment they realized their prized spirit servant had gone missing. When that person sensed little dumbass reappear in the hospital, they would inevitably be drawn in, and since little dumbass naturally gravitated toward whoever had forged it, it would lead Ethan right to them. With Ethan's permission, little dumbass wiggled its limbs happily and began crawling along the corridor. Ethan followed it all the way to the 4th floor, through the waiting area, and right into the OBGYN department. He thought to himself, so it really is in the OBGYN wing. Just then, a burst of clear, bright laughter reached his ears. It was Grace and Auntie. Grace was saying with a smile, "Oh really? You like that skincare brand too? I travel abroad all the time. I'll bring some back for your next trip." Ethan shook his head. Grace could hold a conversation with absolutely anyone. He pulled his cap lower and kept his eyes down so Auntie wouldn't recognize him. At that moment, little dumbass was cheerfully crawling toward Auntie, its movements awkward yet oddly nimble. It threw open its little arms and clung to Auntie's leg, hanging there. Jade didn't notice a thing and kept chatting animatedly with Grace. "Didn't your husband come with you? He's still in college." "A college student? My nephew's in college too, and he still doesn't have a girlfriend." "Really? Are there still guys in college who can't find a girlfriend?" "I know, right? It's embarrassing." Ethan thought to himself, "Auntie, you've been working for 2 years and you're still single yourself. Who are you to judge?" But as he watched little dumbass, his expression grew complicated. Why does it like Auntie so much? After playing on Auntie's leg for a while, little dumbass turned and began looking around, as if sensing something. It quickly drifted off toward the far end of the corridor. Ethan straightened up. Looks like little dumbass is heading for whoever forged it. He pulled his cap down and slipped past behind the two of them. Auntie was still deep in conversation with Grace. "Can a college student really look after you and a baby?" Grace smiled warmly. "Who knows? I mean, I'm here for my prenatal check on my own, so," Ethan thought. Grace really commits to a role. A consultation room door stood half open. Behind the desk sat a young doctor in a white coat, soft-featured, with the kind of quiet, bookish air that put people at ease. He sat with a straight back, his full attention directed inward, as if sensing something. Little dumbass was happily playing on top of the desk. Ethan walked past casually, as if just passing through. As the contracted master, he could sense that little dumbass felt a strong, special bond with this person. Combined with the young doctor's subtle body language, there was no doubt this was the spirit realm walker secretly forging spirit servants. Ethan didn't disturb him. Instead, he stepped out and texted Grace directly. "Grace, wrap it up. I found the target." Grace glanced at her phone and lit up. "Oh, my husband just messaged me. I'll go find him downstairs." Auntie Jade watched her go and nodded approvingly. "Not bad. At least he remembers to check on his wife." A moment later, Grace rounded the corner, her long strides carrying her over with effortless confidence. Ethan spoke quietly. "OBGYN doctor. Name badge says Dr. Wren. Fourth consultation room on the right side of the corridor. What's the move?" Grace thought for a few seconds. "I'll go in and feel him out first, then we decide whether to call the squad leader for backup." Ethan was curious. "And how exactly are you planning to do that?" Grace gave a short laugh and closed her eyes. When she opened them again, a faint red glow lit her irises. She looked Ethan over and said, "Your physical condition is solid, strong vitality. The solar spirit energy inside you is fairly dense, roughly mid-range for level 1. Your current emotional state is curiosity, caution, and a faint hostility, though not directed at me." Ethan's mouth dropped open. Grace smiled. "Insight is a level 1 scout skill. I can read an opponent's general level, limited to the transcendent stage. If I'm not out in 10 seconds, come in after me. If I'm out within 10, we call for backup." With that, she turned smoothly on her heel. "Wait for my signal." Then she walked into the consultation room with measured, deliberate steps. Ethan counted silently to 10. 10 seconds. Grace hadn't come out. He had no choice but to go in. He walked straight into the consultation room. Grace was seated across from the young doctor, calmly discussing prenatal health tips. The moment Ethan closed the door behind him, the young doctor's brow furrowed. "You two. We're from Squad 2. 5 Elements Alliance, Kangyang District Spirit Realm Walkers Division. You are suspected of illegally forging spirit servants. Please cooperate with our investigation." The young doctor's expression hardened. His eyes moved from one to the other. "I don't know what you're talking about. Please don't interfere with my work or I will consider calling the police." He rose from his chair as he spoke and moved toward the door. "If you're not here for a consultation, I'll call the next patient in." Seeing the doctor walk toward him, Ethan stepped in front of the door and tensed his muscles, ready to shift into night god state at any moment. But the young doctor's expression shifted to one of deep sorrow, and in a low, mournful voice, he began to sing. Ethan stared at him, completely baffled. What is this guy doing? The next moment, an indescribable wave of sadness, exhaustion, and resignation washed over him, a hollow, defeated feeling, as if all the joy had been drained out of him. "Why am I so sad? It feels like I just got my heart broken." He quietly stepped aside from the doorway. Grace rose to her feet with composure. She stepped forward. She twisted at the waist, spun her body, and swept her leg, heels clicking sharply against the floor. The young doctor was struck hard across the side of his torso by the whipping kick, and with a muffled grunt, he flew backward. He slammed into the wall. He slid to the floor, pale-faced and clutching his ribs. Ethan snapped back to clarity, the sadness and exhaustion dissolving at once. What was I even thinking? Why was I feeling heartbroken over a man? The thought made him gag. "So, you're a musician," Grace said with a cold smile that never reached her eyes. "You're suspected of illegally forging a spirit servant, assaulting an official spirit realm walker with supernatural abilities, and causing serious psychological harm to our personnel. You're under arrest." The young doctor pushed back. "You have no authority to arrest me. I'm a member of the Slaying Palace. The Slaying Palace and the 5 Elements Alliance stay out of each other's business. You can't just take me in." Grace's brow furrowed slightly. The Slaying Palace is a non-official spirit realm walker organization based in Songhai. Their leader is a high-ranking walker and they have a non-aggression agreement with our branch. The 5 Elements Alliance can't arrest or discipline their members without cause. Everyone in that organization has an extreme temperament. Their motto is fight war with war, kill to stop killing, and their leader is a complete fanatic. As long as they stay in line, our branch is willing to keep the peace. "Don't disrespect our leader," the young doctor said, barely containing his anger. Grace's expression turned icy, her gaze sharp. "The agreement only holds as long as you stay in line. You broke the law and no one can protect you now." Wren's voice dropped as he defended himself. "No, I didn't break the law. I never created a spirit servant." Grace gave a cold laugh. "Do I need to spell it out for you? That child." Wren's face went pale. "So that's what this is about. You've got it wrong. I never created a spirit servant. I'm only a musician. I don't even have the ability to do that. That child was an accident." "An accident?" "Yes, it was my sister's child who never got to live." Ethan and Grace were both furious. "You used your own nephew?" Wren's voice cracked with emotion. "No, I told you, it was an accident. A little over 2 weeks ago, my sister fell at home. Her water broke, she started bleeding, and the baby was injured. She was 7 months along. The hospital performed an emergency C-section, but the baby's chances weren't good. I applied to the organization for an item, hoping to use its power to save my nephew before he was born. But in the end, he didn't make it. Somehow, through a strange twist of fate, that item passed spiritual energy into him and turned him into a unique spirit body." Ethan, still learning the ropes, turned to look at Grace. She gave a small nod. "Musicians do have nurturing abilities. I've seen it in the records, though it's not a transcendent stage skill." Wren continued quietly. "You came because of the haunting rumors, didn't you? Because of that item, he never faded away. He drifted through this hospital day after day. He was so small, he didn't understand anything, not even that he was a spirit body. He just wanted to be noticed. He was drawn instinctively toward older women, so people whose vital energy was weakened sometimes sensed him." Ethan said, So you just did nothing? What could I do? My class as a musician gives me heightened spiritual sensitivity. I could sense him, but I couldn't interact with spirit bodies the way a night god can. There was no way to communicate with him. All I could do was stay close to him and wait until his spirit body ran out of energy and faded completely. After saying this, Ren let out a long, helpless sigh. Ethan quietly glanced over at little dumbass, who was amusing himself on the desk, invisible to everyone else. Was this really how he spent all his time, alone and unseen? Didn't expect you to have such a rough start, little guy. Grace gave a slight nod. We'll verify the details and report to the organization. They'll contact the Slaying Palace to confirm. We'll follow up within 24 hours. Until then, please don't leave Songhai. The two of them returned to the Public Security Bureau. Grace noticed Leo wasn't in the office and asked Wade, "Where's the squad leader?" Wade didn't look up from his work. "He left not long after you two did. A shaman was spotted in the Fenghua district. They're organizing a raid and the squad leader was asked to assist." Ethan turned this over in his mind. A shaman? Could this be connected to the ghost-eyed judge incident? A member of the Spirit Energy Society? Grace said to Wade, "Pull up the registered member records for the Slaying Palace for me." Wade asked flatly, "Your investigation today involved the Slaying Palace?" "Yes," Grace replied. Just then, Ethan received a message. He opened it. It was from Leo. "Stay at the bureau. I'm sending a driver to pick you up. I need your help with something." Seeing that Leo needed his help, Ethan had a feeling he knew what it was about. He replied, "What's going on, squad leader?" A fight had broken out between spirit realm walkers in the Fenghua district, leaving one dead and one wounded, and a soul devour reading was needed. The deceased was a shaman. Shamans leave behind notoriously volatile and malevolent spirit bodies, and the risk of spiritual contamination was severe. The night god from the Tai order refused to take the risk, so Ethan was the only option. Ethan replied, "I'm on my way. After all, a shaman's spiritual power is second only to a night god's or an illusionist's. This should earn a solid chunk of experience." Meanwhile, outside the morgue of the Fenghua District Public Security Bureau, 8 spirit realm walkers had gathered in the wide, brightly lit corridor. The muscular, visibly irritable one was the Fire Master. The one with a bird perched on his shoulder was a wood demon from the 100 Flowers Society. The blank-faced one was an earth ghoul. All of them wore expressions of barely concealed frustration. Ethan noted quietly to himself, so many different classes showed up. Leo introduced the middle-aged man beside him. "This is the captain of Fenghua District's 2nd Unit, a rank 3 scout. His spirit realm ID is Dr. Watson." The man sighed. "You'd introduce me by that ID to everyone you meet if you could." He turned to Ethan. "So you're the new night god the White Tiger Corps brought in. Young and sharp-looking too." Ethan stifled a grin as he shook Dr. Watson's hand warmly, privately wondering if anyone here went by the name Sherlock Holmes. Dr. Watson shook his head with feeling. "There's really nothing like having your own night god on the team. You've heard what happened from Leo, right? I'm sorry we had to call on you like this. The Tai Order's night god stationed here refused to do the reading." The Fire Master let out a cold snort. "Those Tai Order night gods always act like they're above everyone else. Every time you need something from them, it's like you're begging. This is exactly why your own people are better." Dr. Watson said gravely. The deceased was a rank 3 shaman. His spiritual power was immense and completely unhinged. The residual spirit body is extremely dangerous. "Are you sure you can handle this?" Ethan nodded. "No problem. I've got this." Inside the morgue, Leo walked to a steel gurney and pulled back the white sheet covering the body. Ethan's eyes went wide. He couldn't hide his shock. The body had dark green, close-cropped hair. The skin was deep brown, rough and tough as hide. The elbows, knees, and other joints were covered in thick calluses. The fingernails were ink black, curved into sharp points saturated with deadly venom. The pupils, dull and unfocused, were slit vertically like a serpent's, set in amber-colored eyes. Leo explained. "A transcendent stage shaman has 2 main abilities. The first is breeding hex parasites and killing through them without being seen. The second is merging with the parasite, gaining one ability based on the parasite's nature to boost close combat, such as self-healing, vitality, raw strength, speed, or venom." He was killed mid-merge. His body has been locked in this state ever since. Because of the parasite merge, his spirit body was saturated with violent aggression and predatory instincts. The spiritual contamination was severe, and that's exactly why the Tai Order's night god wanted nothing to do with it. The person he fought was also a shaman. By the time we arrived, one was dead, and the other had fled wounded. Our initial suspicion is Spirit Energy Society involvement, or that they answer to Black Impermanence. Get the Soul Devour reading done quickly and see what leads we can pull. The 2nd unit outside is already getting restless. Ethan nodded. He had the demon subduing pestle to shield him, so spiritual contamination didn't concern him. He took it out and handed it to Leo. "Same as last time, squad leader. If things go sideways, jab me with it." Ethan stepped up to the half-human corpse and roused the dormant residual spiritual energy still sleeping inside it. A spectral figure slowly rose from the body, its blank expression shot through with savage, sinister energy, even more unhinged than Owen's spirit body had been. Part of Ethan wanted to absorb it, another part really didn't. Ethan sighed quietly. A thick black light welled up in his eyes. He opened his mouth and drew the spirit body in, swallowing it whole. A torrent of fragmented memories crashed through his mind. Spirit Realm ID, outlaw, previously unemployed. He ran predatory loan schemes, worked as muscle and a con artist at nightclubs, and coerced vulnerable women into providing illegal services. After becoming a spirit realm walker, he played the philanthropist to build up his moral credit, while quietly murdering ordinary people and brutalizing women to feed the darkness inside him. Soon he reached the critical memory. An opulently decorated tea room, A man wearing a silver mask over the upper half of his face sat at a round glass table. He looked across at the host and said, "The ghost-eyed judge is dead. The position of East District President of the Spirit Energy Society belongs to no one but our master. The two vice presidents have fought over it for years. It's finally settled." "How did the ghost-eyed judge die?" Ethan heard the host's own voice asking. "That's not something you need to know," the masked man said, his eyes sharpening. "Forgive me, steward," the masked man continued. "Black Impermanence has gone into hiding and taken both the Holy Grail and the roster. The Holy Grail is a rule-based item tied to the shaman class. Its importance goes without saying. The roster contains every servant the ghost-eyed judge gathered over the years. Control the roster and you control a vast number of spirit realm walkers. Both items are critically important. Outlaw, our chance to earn some credit has arrived. Help our master find Black Impermanence, consolidate the East District chapter's strength, and we'll be able to stand against the Five Elements Alliance's Songhai branch. I have a list of Black Impermanence's subordinates. Track them down and you might find where he's hiding. Of course they've all gone underground by now. Their names are unbridled. Heaven's Injustice, Cold-Blooded Killer, and Still Charming. Their real identities are. A blazing golden light flooded into Ethan's mind. The violent energy inside him dissipated. Ethan broke free from the soul-devour state. Every part of his body ached as though he had taken a savage beating. The only upside was a 5% boost to his experience. His total was now at 52%. Leo's clothes were in complete disarray. Honestly, every time a night god absorbs the spirit body of a dark class walker, they go completely wild. Ethan felt a little embarrassed. "Sorry, squad leader. I got some important leads though, got names from the list." He immediately told Leo everything he had seen in the memory fragments. Leo nodded as he listened. "Good, very good. With this list we can finally stop chasing shadows." Sure enough, nobody knows an enemy better than another enemy. Ethan thought it over. Something still feels off to me. First Owen, now Outlaw. It's almost like someone has been feeding us these leads. Leo nodded. "Good thinking. Write me an analysis report. Consider it a test of your abilities." He said this while already walking toward the door. "Dr. Watson's getting the easy win here. The second unit's going to get credit for this." Ethan's expression went completely blank. "Come on, you're going to lose me if you keep this up." Leo walked out of the morgue. The second unit members in the corridor immediately crowded around him, eyes eager. "Well? What did you find? Any leads?" "We got a list of Black Impermanence's subordinates. The second unit gets the credit, but the list still needs to be verified." A rare smile spread across Dr. Watson's usually stern face. "Once the reward comes through, we'll put aside 10% for Primordial Heavenly Lord. Truly, thank you for today." That evening, at the Mosspet Cafe, the rolling shutter was half drawn and the lights inside were dim. 11 steward-level figures from the Fenghua, Kengyang, Jinjian, and Puning districts had all gathered around a round table. Crouched at the center of the table was a teddy poodle. It was an elder of the 100 Flower Society, one of the key figures overseeing the ghost-eyed judge incident, responsible for managing the Spirit Realm Walker teams across the 4 districts, with direct access to the Alliance leader. The poodle spoke in a human voice. "Let's keep this brief. The fall of the ghost-eyed judge has serious implications. What have you all uncovered these past few days?" The Fenghua district steward said thoughtfully, "I believe Owen was bait set out by the Hex Lord to let us know the ghost-eyed judge had fallen. The shaman we eliminated today was also one of the Hex Lord's people. He's trying to use our official forces to locate Black Impermanence." Elder Curly's small round eyes swept across everyone at the table. When the goal is the same, anyone can be an ally. But the fallen Holy Grail is far too dangerous to leave unsecured. It must be held by official hands and must never fall into the Hex Lord's possession. Does anyone have anything to add? The female steward from the 100 Flowers Society frowned. "The matter of Spirit Energy Society spies is something we can't afford to overlook. I recommend screening every member of the Songhai branch, including the Tai Order's night gods. There may be agents of the Spirit Energy Society hidden among us." Elder Curly nodded slowly. "If that's the case, we'll need to invoke the Tiger Seal. I'll submit the request to the Marshal." Elder Curly then turned to Marcus Fu, who had been silent the entire time. "I hear you've recently recruited a promising night god who even cleared the Yuling Tunnel." Marcus gave a slight nod and added, "He also killed Owen." Elder Curly said, "A few days ago, Elder Crimson of the Tai Order contacted me. She wants that night god transferred to them." "Marcus, what's your take?" Marcus said flatly. "Just turn her down. If it's inconvenient for you, Elder, I'll make the call myself." The female steward who had spoken earlier smiled. "It's just one night god after all. Handing him over to the Tai Order wouldn't be a loss. Elder Crimson's goodwill is worth far more. Besides, we have Tai Order night gods stationed in every district, and they cooperate when we need them, don't they? Right, Holt?" Holt was the Fenghua district steward. The other stewards stayed quiet and glanced his way. Holt's brow creased. "I want to put the Tai Order night god's attitude on the record. The soul devour reading on the shaman we eliminated today was not done by him. He refused to cooperate, claiming he wasn't in the right condition. My squad leader had no choice but to call on the Kengyang district 2nd unit. They came without a single complaint. One phone call was all it took, and he's only a rank 1 night god. Personally, I think there's a real difference between a night god who's yours and one who isn't." The other stewards weighed in as well. "I say keep him. The Tai Order has no shortage of night gods. In times like these, you trust your own people." The 100 Flower Society steward lowered her head with an awkward look. Elder Curly nodded. "Then we keep him. I'll go turn down Elder Crimson myself. The Tai Order's Aegis will be leading a team into Songhai in a few days to help us hunt down Black Impermanence. Marcus, you two are the same generation and have always been close. He's also one of the 4 young lords. Go receive him. Marcus nodded in agreement. That evening, Ethan received a text from Grace. Ren's identity checked out. Since it was an accident, it doesn't count as illegally creating a spirit servant. Go to the hospital and have Ren fill out a Spirit Realm Walker profile and a written pledge. Bring it back for filing. This is your case. Pleased that Ethan was being so cooperative, Grace casually sent along a selfie. Here's another suggestion. You've been with the organization for a while now. It's time to start building your network. The Slaying Palace carries real weight in Songhai. Try recruiting Ren as an informant. It might open a door to the Slaying Palace down the line. Good idea. That way things won't get complicated later. By the way, isn't your second Spirit Realm entry coming up soon? Ethan replied. Hopefully nothing S-rank this time. Shouldn't be. Both the squad leader and I are looking forward to seeing how you handle it. The two of them wrapped up their idle back and forth. The next day, Ethan arrived at Pingtai Hospital. He walked into the clinic office and saw the young doctor's downcast expression. You seem down today. Ren's eyes were dim. He's gone. I can't sense him anymore. He was my sister's firstborn, my first nephew. The family had the stroller, the pacifiers, the clothes, all ready and waiting for him to arrive. After the loss, my sister cried every single day. My mom would sneak off to cry alone, blaming herself for not taking better care of her daughter. These past 2 weeks, I was afraid to sense him in the hospital, because it reminded me of how powerless I was. But I couldn't help wanting to be close to him either, wanting to keep him company. He was so small. He must have been so lonely. Ethan said gently. He was gone from the start. The parting was always going to come. He handed over his card. I'm here for 2 things today. First, the profile and pledge. Once that's filed, you'll be an official registered Spirit Realm Walker. The organization won't interfere much, as long as you stay clean and don't cause trouble. Second, would you be interested in becoming my informant? The first part is fine, but as for the informant, Ren studied the card in his hand as he said this. I don't work as an informant for just anyone. I'd also need to report it to my superiors and get their approval. Ethan could tell Ren wasn't impressed with him, so he simply nodded. That's fine. Ren asked, what's your Spirit Realm ID? Primordial Heavenly Lord. Ren composed a quick message and reported the matter to his superior, but he knew perfectly well the organization would never approve of him getting too close to an ordinary official walker, unless the contact was a captain or steward with real standing. No worries, I'll wait to hear from you. I'll head out for now. Ethan had barely left when Ren tried to refocus on his work. Suddenly his phone rang. The caller ID read Love-Struck Saint. Ren answered. I already turned him down tactfully. Love-Struck Saint said, Songhai isn't going to stay quiet for long. We need to keep a closer eye on official movements. Say yes to him. Ren was visibly caught off guard but answered steadily. All right, I'll get back to him. He couldn't hold back the question on his mind. He's just an ordinary official walker. Why? Not long ago, a newcomer cleared the Yuling Tunnel and broke the record. A few days before that, a rank 3 Dark Class Walker was eliminated. The ID behind both was Primordial Heavenly Lord. Ren's mind flashed back to the look on Ethan's face when he revealed his ID. A quiet respect settled over him. Looked so unremarkable. Didn't expect he was already making a name for himself. A full moon hung high in the sky. An abandoned ancient temple stood silently in the moonlight. A woman in ancient flowing robes stood tall on the roof of the main hall, gazing up at the full moon. Her finely arched brows drew together as she murmured to herself, This isn't the Ming Dynasty. Who pulled me into this realm while I slept? With that thought, she fixed her gaze on the full moon. 2 blazing beams of golden light shot from her eyes. They struck the solar spirit above, and the entire space shook violently. The golden light crashed into an invisible barrier and erupted into blinding golden sparks, painting the entire world around her in a rich, gleaming gold. But the golden light held for only a brief moment before slowly fading away. Crimson blood seeped from the corners of the Sandow Mountain goddess's eyes and ran down her pale cheeks. She gently wiped away the blood. Without reclaiming the other half of her yang soul, there was no breaking out of here. If she couldn't return, she would at least tear this world apart. Her hands moved rapidly through a series of seals. She formed a sword finger and suddenly thrust it toward the sky. A terrifying blade of spiritual energy erupted from her fingertip and shot upward into the heavens. It blasted a massive, inward collapsing hole through the full moon. The Sandow Mountain goddess transformed into a streak of golden light and vanished into the tear in the sky. The tear sealed itself shut almost immediately. The full moon hung in the sky just as before, as though nothing had happened at all. Beneath a scholar tree in a Beijing courtyard, Elder Sun reclined comfortably in a rocking chair. The sound of Peking opera drifted from a radio on the tea table beside him. Suddenly, a golden sun mark appeared between his brows. It trembled violently, radiating a scorching, burning heat, and a massive wave of pressure surged through the mark. A distant, commanding voice resonated deep within him. The night god spirit realm has shifted. Notify disciples in every region that their upcoming missions may encounter anomalies. Report immediately upon discovery. Dorian was a rank 2 night god of the Tai Order. His assistant brought over a laptop. Captain, the 5 Elements Alliance's Hangcheng branch sent an email. They're requesting your participation in a soul devour screening to identify any potential fallen members. Dorian glanced at the screen and said flatly, Tell them to find a night god from another district. I'm about to enter a solo, spirit realm instance. I don't have time. Just then Dorian heard the familiar spirit realm notification tone. Entering spirit realm in 3 minutes. Spirit realm night god instance, Minghu Town. Difficulty level, S, mode, solo death. The color drained from Dorian's face, his eyes filled with despair and confusion. When did Minghu Town become an S-rank mission? The next morning, Ethan was woken by a notification. He yawned, bleary-eyed. It was a message from Ren. He had agreed to become an informant, and without much hesitation at all. Ethan muttered to himself about how quickly Ren's attitude had flipped as he got up to take his medication. He had been so busy he'd forgotten for 2 days running. Then his expression froze. Why hadn't he had an episode in 2 days? By all logic, his condition was getting worse. The episode should have been coming more frequently, not less. Could it be that becoming a night god had changed something in his constitution? Come to think of it, he hadn't had a single episode since becoming a night god. Could he actually be cured? He wasn't sure enough to assume so. He decided to test it. Ethan closed his eyes and let his mind drift toward the blurry image of his father's face. He didn't know how much time passed. His heart gave a heavy thud. His mind boiled over. A flood of noise and fragmented images rushed in all at once. But in the next moment the noise settled into something coherent. The images no longer shattered. He heard his uncle dancing in the living room. Auntie was watching television and complaining for him to keep it down. From the kitchen came the sound of his grandmother washing dishes. His mind kept processing. Grace carried herself with a quiet, unspoken confidence. The squad leader treated her with a noticeable courtesy he didn't extend to Ethan or Wade. When Ethan brought up those team members, Leo had looked both uncomfortable and helpless. Ren's change of attitude was strange. Just yesterday he had been dismissive. Little dumbass had a clear preference for Auntie. 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 At that moment the bedroom door was kicked open and that strange, drifting state shattered instantly. Auntie called out brightly, "Come on, take me shopping. Runfamal." Ethan slumped in a chair surrounded by a mountain of Auntie's shopping bags. He couldn't help but sigh. Her energy is something else. She'd been shopping all day and still wasn't tired. Out of boredom, he took out his phone and logged into the official forum out of habit, looking for anything interesting. One post caught his eye almost immediately. A large number of brand new A-rank and S-rank Spirit Realm instances had appeared specifically for night gods. Official night gods had been reported missing across multiple regions. Recently, night god Spirit Realm instances had undergone a massive overhaul. Many registered instances had been replaced and upgraded, with difficulty spiking to A rank or even S rank. Multiple walkers who entered had not come back. Ethan was taken aback. Why would so many A rank and S rank night god instances just suddenly appear? The spirit realm is supposed to have a balanced matching system. The missions might be brutal and the death rate might be high, but a rank 1 walker should never be matched with a rank 3 walker's mission. Oh no. I'm about to enter the spirit realm too. Is it too late to switch classes? He kept scrolling, skimming through the comment section to see what people were saying. The general discussion centered on whether the spirit realm's sudden changes had been triggered by the demon lord's death. Night gods were indispensable for investigations. The ghost-eyed judge had just been eliminated. Every region was on guard against fallen walkers going rogue. Songhai was in the middle of hunting down black impermanents. With night god instances breaking down at this moment, a critical shortage was looking increasingly likely. The saving grace was that not every night god would be entering an instance in the near future, but night gods would eventually have to go in. And with this many uncleared instances appearing all at once, their numbers were likely to drop sharply in the months ahead. Ethan sent a heavy-hearted message to Vincent, asking what was behind the night god instance difficulty changes. Vincent didn't know the specifics either. Everyone going in soon was terrified. S rank wasn't something just anyone could survive, and even A rank was a matter of luck. While Ethan was staring into space, Auntie reached over and gave his head a gentle ruffle. I called your name several times and you didn't even respond. Is your phone more interesting than me? Ethan quickly put his phone down and avoided Auntie's eyes, claiming he was checking his exam schedule. Auntie gave a knowing "oh" and said, Aren't you dedicated? Ethan stood up awkwardly. All right, I need to go study. Back in his room, Ethan immediately locked the door behind him. He opened his laptop and kept refreshing the forum. There was a pinned announcement from the Tai Order at the top of the page. Urgent bounty notice regarding recent Spirit Realm anomalies. Following a sudden shift in Night God Spirit Realm instances, the Council of Elders has determined the cause to be the awakening of a high-level boss within the Spirit Realm. 8 instances have had their difficulty changed. Minghu Town, Ming Dynasty Mass Grave, Xinfeng Reservoir, Yinshan Go School, the Sealed King's Tomb, Jinshui Amusement Park, the Scream Room, and Apartment 13. Yinshan Ghost School and Xinfeng Reservoir have already been cleared. The remaining 6 are still uncleared. The Council of Elders has issued the following bounties. Clearing an S-rank instance earns B-rank merit, clearing an A-rank instance earns C-rank merit, and clearing a B-rank instance carries a cash reward of 500,000. Worth noting is that most recipients of B-rank merit had suffered irreversible injuries to earn it. C-rank merit represented the ceiling for what an ordinary walker could realistically achieve, and even that required serious effort, usually only attainable through coordinated team effort. The weight of B-rank merit spoke for itself. The comments had already climbed into the thousands. Walkers about to enter multiplayer instances were voicing their fears. If the affected instances weren't cleared in time, official night god numbers could plummet within 6 months. And other classes might get dragged down too. Ethan stared blankly at the screen. Multiplayer instances got hit too. And the next one I'm going into is a multiplayer instance. Suddenly his phone rang loudly. It was Leo. Ethan answered. Squad leader, Leo said reassuringly. You've been on the forum today, I take it. Don't worry too much about the night god instance changes. There are people above us handling this. By the time your solo instance comes around, the Tai Order may have already cleared these high difficulty ones. Trust the organization. That said, if you feel up to it, you could always be the one to clear them. Ethan tested the waters. Is that all you called for, squad leader? Just to reassure me? Two things. First, you'll most likely be entering a multiplayer instance soon. Centurion Fu confirmed that Jinshui Amusement Park is a transcendent stage instance. Just to be safe, he used his clearance to pull up the old walkthrough for you as a reference. Remember, it's only a reference. The instance has changed. Following an old walkthrough too closely will get you killed. Ethan felt a wave of genuine gratitude. Centurion Fu has so much on his plate and he still thought of someone as small-time as me. Leo added, it's just a precaution. There are so many transcendent stage multiplayer instances that the odds of being matched to Jinshui Amusement Park specifically are quite low. Ethan thought, I really hope so. But what you don't know, squad leader, is that my character card literally belongs to the Demon Lord. He kept that to himself and asked, what's the second thing? The second thing is about Lei. We finally dug something up. His social circle is very simple. Apparently he was withdrawn, kept to himself, never got close to classmates and stayed under the radar. But digging deeper, we found that over the past 3 years, 2 people who got on his bad side both ended up dead under circumstances that seemed perfectly plausible. Ethan pushed back immediately. That's not right. Lei was never withdrawn or quiet. I grew up with him. I know him too well. When his temper flared, he wouldn't even bother saying, what are you looking at? He'd just swing. Leo couldn't help but remark, that sounds more like a fire master. So the Lei you knew is nothing like the one his classmates remember. The question is, which version changed? Ethan let out a sigh. Maybe Lei changed. Leo thought it through. You were at the same high school. If you didn't notice anything off, the change must have happened during his university years. Something must have occurred between the end of high school and the start of college that caused such a dramatic shift in his personality. But there are too many variables and not enough leads to narrow it down. What Ethan couldn't wrap his head around was why Lei had never told him about becoming a spirit realm walker, given how close they were. The spirit realm had no suppression mechanism. He could have said something. Ethan might not have believed him at the time, but still, he pushed the thought aside and asked, anything else, squad leader? Leo paused before continuing. Not sure if this counts for much. Did Lei keep a journal? Who keeps a journal these days? Our colleagues in Hangcheng found one in his dorm room. He didn't write often. But the night before he sent you the character card, right before he disappeared, he wrote an entry. Where's the journal now? Still in his dorm. Our Hangcheng colleagues looked it over and didn't find anything significant. I had photos taken of it. I'll send them over once we hang up. After the call ended, Ethan's mind was heavy. Leo sent a compressed file of the photos through their messaging app. He extracted the files. There were over 30 photos. Most of them covered trivial day-to-day entries. Then he reached the last one. Second semester internship coming up. Time moves fast. Dreamed last night of growing up with Ethan in the alleyways, sneaking looks at books we weren't supposed to read, scamming money from our families, all those games we used to play. Ethan slowly sank into his chair. He leaned back and closed his eyes. Just as I thought. Lei left me something. At first light, Ethan went straight to Lei's home. Yinping Residential Complex had been built half a century ago, and every building bore the weathered marks of all those years. He stopped in front of Unit 402 and pressed the doorbell. A moment later, a woman in her mid-40s opened the security door. She had heavy dark circles and sunken cheeks. She looked at him with surprise. Ethan? Ethan's tone was warm and gentle. Aunt, I came to check on you and Uncle. Aunt's expression softened with relief. Come in, your uncle is at work. They sat down together on the living room sofa. Ethan said gently, don't worry, Aunt. The Public Security Bureau will find Lei. Aunt sighed. Your grandmother came to see me a few days ago. She said no news might still be good news. All we can do now is wait. Stay for lunch. Ethan shook his head. I have class later. I'll just sit in Lei's room for a bit. He went to Lei's bedroom and reached under the bed, feeling around. He pulled out a large cardboard box stuffed with all kinds of things. An old handheld game console, a toy robot, a rubber ball, a yo-yo, a wooden spinning top, and a worn copy of The Scandalous History of Emperor Yang. He picked up the book. He gave it a gentle tap, a cloud of dust. As the pages fanned open with a rustling sound, a slip of paper fell out. Found it. Ethan let out a slow breath. A weight lifted from his chest. This was a cipher he and Lei had invented themselves. Numbers mapped to specific lines and pages, grouped in sets of 7 characters, with the second set being the reverse of the first. The book they had used as the key back then was exactly this one. He recalled the cipher format and cross-referenced it with the book. The message came together quickly. First line, 6203, brothers for life. Second line, Ethan, find it. I left everything there. Ethan's heart sank. Brothers for life. That had been Lei's go-to saying in their second year of middle school. If it were just an expression, a feeling, there was no reason to encode it. What about 6203? Was that a passcode? Find it. What was it? It felt like he had gotten so many clues and yet nothing at all. Whatever everything referred to had to be connected to Lei sending him the Demon Lord character card, to his disappearance, to whatever had changed during his university years, something involving a figure of the Demon Lord's magnitude. What exactly was it? The curiosity gnawed at him. Ethan went to the bathroom. He tore the note into pieces and dropped them into the toilet. The water carried the pieces away. Aunt, I'll head out for class now. He hailed a cab outside the complex and turned it over in his mind. There was no way he could tell Leo or Grace about any of this. He'd have to dig into it himself. And with so little to go on, rushing wasn't going to help. Right now, the priority priority was his second Spirit Realm mission. Leveling up was what mattered most. If the multiplayer instance wasn't a death type, then it was a penalty type, where failing would cost him experience points. Things could actually get worse if he wasn't careful. Rewards depended on the instance's difficulty level and how a walker performed. His experience was sitting at 52%. He didn't know if his second Spirit Realm run could push him straight to rank 2. For solo instances, as long as you survived, the rewards were generally solid. In theory, leveling up shouldn't be too slow. But seasoned walkers like Grace and Leo had been stuck at their current ranks for a long time, one at rank 2, one at rank 3. There were 2 reasons for that. The first was that the instances they entered weren't high-ranking, and the missions weren't particularly difficult, so the rewards were nowhere near what S-rank would offer. The second was that multiplayer instances were hit or miss. Simply put, you couldn't avoid getting dragged down by a teammate who didn't pull their weight. Ethan opened the forum with a cluttered mind. The post reposted from the Night God official forum was still pinned at the top, but beneath it was a new post. A moment of silence. A colleague has fallen in a multiplayer instance. A member of one branch entered the S-rank instance Jinshui Amusement Park. Entry was reported in advance. After 24 hours without return, the walker has been declared dead. The news stirred no small amount of panic and debate across the forum. Past his palm was spiraling because his multiplayer instance was coming up. Call Me Queen threw cold water on the panic, pointing out that a cleared walkthrough wasn't going to appear anytime soon. But there were so many multiplayer instances that landing on this specific one wasn't likely. Future has long fired back that the odds might be low but the consequences were fatal, asking whether S-rank was supposed to just sit uncleared for a year, and wondering how many people it would claim in the meantime. The King is Ill offered a direct suggestion. At the Transcendent stage, stick close to the top-tier elites. They have strong track records, a higher chance of being assigned S-rank instances, and actually clear them. Ethan posted his own take. Yinshen Ghost School and Xinfeng Reservoir have already been cleared. Jinshui Amusement Park is a multiplayer instance open to all classes. In theory, it has a higher chance of being cleared than Night God exclusive instances. Future is Long is clearly not great at math. His messaging app popped up with a notification. Informant Ren from the Slaying Palace had sent a message. Ren was asking whether Ethan could get hold of the old walkthrough for Jinshui Amusement Park. He was upfront that his own next Spirit Realm instance was a musician-exclusive one and not coming up anytime soon. The real message was that following the Night God instance anomaly, the black market for the old Jinshui Amusement Park walkthrough had climbed to 300,000. Ren had a buyer. As an official member, Ethan could authorize him to handle the sale, with a 70-30 split. Ethan had never seen that kind of money in his life. He instinctively replied, "I have one," then immediately unsent it. Ren sent a question mark. "I have an old copy, but it's not for sale." "Why not? I don't want to make money that way." Ethan asked what a current walkthrough would be worth. S-rank instance walkthroughs are priceless, Ren replied. "No standard price. You negotiate with the buyer directly, though with your clearance level you probably can't even access an S-rank walkthrough. I have patience to see. Talk another time. Let me know if you change your mind. I'm a little short on cash lately." At that moment, Ethan thought of the Jinshui Amusement Park walkthrough Leo had sent him. He closed the chat and opened his email. He downloaded the attachment. It finished quickly. Jinshui Amusement Park. Instance number 6203. Difficulty B type, multiplayer penalty. Main objective, experience 2 or more park attractions. Most challenges tested teamwork. Gameplay overview, haunted house wedding. The ghost bride selects the most attractive male player for the attraction, and that player is immediately eliminated. Once inside, male players must repeatedly chant, "I am hideous." If all male players chant this, one will be selected at random. Female players are the safest. Just eliminated? This ghost bride was nowhere near as brutal as the one from the trial mission. The old walkthrough might only be a reference now, but it let you get up to speed on the instance fast. No wonder people were paying 300,000 for it. Then his expression shifted completely. He scrolled rapidly back to the top of the document. Jinshui Amusement Park. Spirit Realm instance number 6203. He froze. For a long moment he just stared. Was this a coincidence? 6203 referred to Jinshui Amusement Park. Lei left everything there? That couldn't be right. Spirit Realm instances were randomly assigned. That alone didn't add up logically. What if he never got assigned Jinshui Amusement Park? Lei had no way of guaranteeing he would end up there, unless he could predict which instance Ethan would be matched to. And if that were possible, then Ethan's Spirit Realm assignments weren't random at all, which meant the whole Yuling Tunnel situation was a lot more unsettling than it had seemed. The thought sent a chill across his scalp. The driver up front had noticed Ethan staring blankly at his phone this whole time, and privately thought, another one glued to his screen. In the early hours, Ethan pulled the curtain shut, turned off the lights, locked his door. He sat on his bed and stared blankly at the digital clock on the nightstand. Please, no more special instances. He looked at the 5 small pills in his hand and felt time slowly passing. Then the familiar notification tone sounded in his mind. Spirit Realm map loading. Entering Spirit Realm in 60 seconds. This Spirit Realm instance, Jinshui Amusement Park. Instance number 6203. Difficulty, S-type, multiplayer death. On a certain day, a figure beyond description arrived at Jinshui Amusement Park. She was surprised to find such entertaining diversions still existing in the world. After such a long sleep, she happily experienced every attraction and decided not to destroy the place. Before leaving, she commanded the spirits within the park to find a young man for her. His name was... Ethan felt like the floor had dropped out from under him. It really was Jinshui Amusement Park. there was no time to think. He swallowed the pills and dialed Grace's number. Protocol required him to report the instance so his superiors would be aware. The call connected quickly. Grace said with mock annoyance, "Every girl whose dreams get interrupted deserves a proper meal as compensation. Tell the squad leader. I'm about to enter the spirit realm. The instance is Jinshui Amusement Park." Grace's expression changed completely. "What? Your multiplayer instance is Jinshui Amusement Park? Hey, Primordial, hey, hey." She kept calling out to him but got no response.